What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 3PR Chapter 51, Handsome Guy, Who Are You? Komamura's Humanization Technique. Visored, Hiroko Shinji was watching the video with great interest, but suddenly found himself, which caught him off guard. Damn it, isn't this counting Komamura-Sajin? Why did my scene appear? And it's still a scene of being defeated. Looking back, when I was taking stock of Bambietta, his and my own records did appear. Hiroko was fortunate that the scene of his defeat was not shown in the video, but it turned out how long it had passed, and the corpse was whipped in public. My perverted world, was it so easily resolved by Bambietta? Hiroko couldn't believe it, but looking at his miserable appearance in the video, the result seemed obvious. It's so miserable, I asked Shinigami to save you, Hiyori grinned, mockingly. Don't let Shinigami save it, let you save it, Hiroko replied angrily. Fortunately, Komamura-Sajin came in time, otherwise he would really die at the hands of the Quincy. In the video screen, team leader, as soon as Komamura came on stage, there was a crisp shout. Hinamori Momo quickly charged towards Bumby with a flying plum in hand. She wanted to use Feime's critical attack to neutralize Bumby's spiritual bullet. Bambi saw her at a glance, and said with a smirk, "Are you the dog's deputy captain? Or the captain of the guy who died over there?" With a whoosh, Komamura-Sajin flew in and stopped Hinamori directly. He understood Hinamori's intentions, but obviously the strength difference between the two sides was too great to defend without armor and shields. But Bambi suddenly turned back. How many times do you think your bucket can block my attacks? Komamura-Sajin picked up the Zanpakuto and looked back. Bumby flapped his wings and flew into the sky, dropping 2 explosive bombs. Komamura is not afraid. All bombs have a momentary gap when they touch the explosion, as long as they have armor that can offset the impact of being shot, and a body that can instantly deflect the blast. Boom. The bomb exploded on Komamura's armor, but caused moderate burns to the arm. The spirit bomb is not piercing in, but all my spirit seeds that go in will become bombs, Bambi said with a smile. Hinamori was immediately shocked when he heard it. Bumby soared into the sky again, this time she spread her wings and began to attack indiscriminately. Komamura made Hinamori hide behind him, and also kept the seriously injured Hiroko at his side. Bang bang bang. Continuous explosive bombs, like setting off fireworks. Bumby knew that with the armor on, this attack wouldn't kill Komamura-Sajin, but he could see him hiding under the bucket. As the smoke disappeared, Komamura-Sajin's armor had been completely smashed. I saw a muscular man with long brown hair and a handsome face, squatting on the ground with a little hair on his arms. Bambi was stunned, his eyes were like copper bells. Why isn't that face a puppy? Not only Bumby was dumbfounded, but all the captains, vice-captains, chairmen, and team members of Seirei were also dumbfounded. Isn't Komamura-Sajin a human wolf? How did he become a handsome guy? Handsome guy. Who are you? Jingle Chunshui raised his bamboo hat and looked at Komamura-Sajin now. The size is indeed similar, but what's the matter with this face? Is this really Captain Komamura? He's so handsome. Rangaku's eyes lit up. Although she only had Ichimaru Jin in her heart, how could she not take a second look at this handsome man with a perfect body? Rukia and Hinamori also looked at Komamura-Sajin anxiously. Captain Komamura has changed too much. Komamura-Sajin, who was staring at dozens of pairs of eyes, felt his scalp tingling and felt a little embarrassed. He smiled awkwardly. Ha ha ha, the person in the video is indeed me, but it's the first time I've seen this appearance. It should be the secret humanization technique passed down by our family. He was also shocked. He had only heard of the humanization technique, and the only one who mastered this secret technique was his great-grandfather. But ever since he became a Shinigami, he has been regarded as a traitor by his family. The video shows him using the humanization technique, which means that his grandfather forgave him. Humanization technique, Captain Komamura, do you know it now? If you can, please keep the humanization technique state. Rukia smiled softly. Komamura-Sajin shook his head. No, isn't the old man handsome now? Not handsome. Everyone spoke in unison. In the video screen, Komamura-Sajin drew his sword and stood up. Bankai Black Rope Heaven's Scourge King Ming broken armor rope clothes. After Komamura used this move, the armor of King Tien's scourge fell down. Pairs of bullhorns appear on the top of the head, with a ferocious face, flaming eyes like hellfire, long hair over the neck and a curvy beard, and a huge black thick rope emerges from the chest, wrapping around the whole body. Compared with the original King of Scourge, the King of Scourge in the state of broken armor and rope clothes is even more terrifying and frightening. Bumby didn't know what happened, but suddenly she was stunned, because the great sword of King Mingming had already started to slash. Bumby flies to avoid. He has been surrounded. The ordinary Bankai Komamura-Sajin and the King of Scourge are one, but now there is no Komamura under Bankai's armor. Could the puppy be hiding under the monster's face? She threw the spirit bomb at King Tien's Scourge Ming. King Tien Ming reached out to catch the bomb easily, and a violent explosion occurred. The right arm was shattered by the blast, but it was completely restored in an instant. Bumby didn't know what was going on, and Komamura appeared to explain. The black rope god's scourge is Bankai, the armor of life, and the broken armor rope is his posture of taking off the armor and showing full Ryotsu and power. Komamura smiled contemptuously. Your moves are no longer able to knock him down. As soon as the words were finished, King Ming of Heaven's Wrath slashed again, but Bambi unleashed a critical attack on King Ming's hands, and she took advantage of this opportunity to escape again. Although Bambi doesn't know how powerful King Ming is, his own ability can turn everything he touches into a bomb. Your Ryotsu leaked out, it's equivalent to your Achilles heel exposed, then blow it up. Swish swish swish, countless spirit bullets poured down. King Tien's scourge blocked all the explosions with only one arm. Don't you understand? The fear of being blown to pieces by your bomb is because there is life, and how can a person who has no life be afraid of being smashed to pieces? Bambi was stunned, a little incomprehensible. Komamura continued. The armor of King Mingming is his life, and the broken armor is Heavenly Wrath Mingwang's gesture of giving up his life. Chapter 52. Is this the price for bearing the name of the Imperial Court? Broken armor rope. Captain Komamura, is this your full body Bankai? Shooting Field stared in shock. You must know that the black rope of Komamura Sajin is connected with itself. Whenever King Scourge takes damage, Komamura Sajin will suffer the same. In the same way, Komamura Sajin's injury will also be transformed into the injury of King Ming Ming. But now, no matter what kind of damage the Scourge Mingwang received in the state of broken armor and rope clothes, he would automatically recover. And Komamura Sajin, totally unhurt. Komamura Sajin nodded. This is the Bankai state after humanization technique. Although he didn't know the price he paid, judging from the performance of King Scourge Ming, he probably gave up his life. That's why Tianju Mingwang recovered from his injuries indiscriminately, and it didn't transfer to himself. King Ming Ming, who gave up his life, is so overbearing. Kenpachi felt a little emotional. No wonder Komamura Sajin can be ranked 36th, so it is because of hiding a hand. Void Knight Palace. Feeling the change of Komamura Sajin, Tusen Kanami was stunned. Komamura, why did you become like this? You said you couldn't see my heart, but what about yours? In the video screen. Seeing Komamura Sajin's fearless look, Bambi started to panic. She tore off the cloak she was wearing abruptly. Although she couldn't understand Komamura Sajin's explanation, what if Bankai had no life? She doesn't know the law of death if you take off your clothes. She had obtained Komamura Sajin's Bankai before. This Bankai can be connected to the owner, as long as it is destroyed. Wouldn't it kill Komamura Sajin? Swish. A spiritual bullet struck Komamura Sajin's body violently, hitting his chest and causing a violent explosion. At the same time, King Tien's scourge also suffered the same damage from the attack. Bambi was very proud. You see, this can hurt you. But the next second, she was stunned. In the heart of Komamura Sajin, a big hole appeared. What's the matter with that hole in your chest? Bambiata's pupils shrank suddenly, and cold sweat flowed out. That's where the heart is. It stands to reason that a big hole has been opened in the heart. No matter whether the opponent is a Shinigami or a Quincy, they're bound to die. But why is Komamura Sajin still standing there like nothing happened? Who the hell is he? The Invisible Empire, the Ice Palace. Nani, is this guy also empty? Just like Kurosaki Ichigo, after the chest was opened, he didn't die, but became completely empty? Bambieta's surprised look was very similar to that in the video. It's not her fault, the rest of the Star Knights present also had the same attitude. Kurosaki Ichigo turned into hollow. There is a process of death, but you look at Komamura Sajin, still alive and well, it doesn't look like he is going to die, or he has no heart. Ace Not said in a deep voice said. Stop joking, how did he survive without a heart? Musk shook his head, expressing his confusion. The rest have no reasonable explanation. In the video screen, a bright light flashed in Komamura's eyes, and he explained, my body has already become an empty shell, and it is only used as a tool to defeat you. Our family's secret technique is humanization technique. By donating your heart, you can temporarily become immortal. As long as I maintain this human posture, I will not die. At this time, King Tianju Ming jumped up, his huge body approaching like a black cloud. What the hell, do you mean that you also gave up your life? You fought because you didn't want to lose. If you lost, you would die. If you gave up your life for the sake of fighting, then even if you win, what's the point? Bambieta flew to avoid the attack of King Ming Ming, and used the spirit bullet to explode additionally. It's not giving up life, but blocking life. Komamura Sajin's eyes are firm, and Yamamoto Genryuzai has bet his life, and he has no reason not to bet his own life. From the moment he stepped into this war, he had already given up his life. Swish. Zanpakuto swung out, creating a planet-like explosion. Impossible, the bomb didn't explode, but was faster than the explosion, and it directly chopped into my body together with the bomb. With the explosion, Bambieta fell to the ground. The Invisible Empire, Bambieta's expression froze. Could the King of Heavenly Scourge with such a large body have such an extremely fast speed? It even chopped down together with the spirit bullet. Originally, she held different views on Komamura Sajin's ranking, but now it seems that the 36th position is completely reasonable. Even, it's a little low. Visored. Amazing Komamura Sajin, to beat Bambietta in this way. Hirako Shinji is very cool to watch, especially after Bumby beat him, he will cheer for every attack of Komamura Sajin. Not for anything else, just for revenge. In the video, looking at Bambietta flying out of the smoke. Komamura Sajin wants to use the momentum to continue fighting, there are still many enemies waiting for him. But suddenly, King Tianju Ming fell to his knees, and the entire Lingwang Palace trembled. The shape began to crumble, and Komamura knelt weakly on the ground. He knew in his heart that the humanization technique would not last long. No, it's not over yet, now, I still need to maintain it for a while, humanization technique, my heart. Komamura Sajin frowned, full of unwillingness. He hoped that his heart would give him more time, because the ice palace was close at hand. I have to reach their castle and defeat Yuhabach. He wanted to struggle, but his body was already out of control, and he didn't even have the strength to hold the knife. In the cave outside the video, a huge wolf is lying on the ground, watching the video with half-closed eyes. Sajin, haven't you noticed that your feeling is revenge? The things you often talk about to your friends are also a kind of revenge that sacrifices your life. That's very good. Revenge is the true form of our family. You have finally returned. Back to our family. In the video, Komamura Sajin's arm begins to morph into a wolf's claw. This is. Komamura looked at the change in the arm and seemed to understand. Is this the price? His body degenerated into a vengeful beast, but he did not hesitate to degenerate into a silent beast. Soon, Komamura's entire body turned into a wolf. Chapter 53. Hero Bull Warrior, stupid but strong. Is this the retribution of selling one's soul for revenge? Is this the retribution of selling one's soul for revenge in the name of the Guardian? Komamura Sajin turned into a wolf, lying on the ground and shouting in his heart. Is this the retribution for not using the words I said to Tucson to warn myself? The video playback ends here. Seirei, everyone looked a little dignified. Captain Komamura turned into a wolf completely. Is this the price of humanization technique? Tōshirō said with some surprise. Although the transformed Komamura Sajin's strength has been greatly improved, but the duration is not long. If he put this ability on himself, Tōshirō might consider whether he would be as decisive as Komamura Sajin. Captain, you did nothing wrong. Shooting Field looked at Komamura Sajin with tender eyes, and sacrificed his life to protect Seirei. This is the most worthy of respect as a Shinigami, as the captain of the squadron. Captain Komamura has completely turned into a beast, but his heart represents the thoughts of all our captains. Jingle Chunshui said lightly. Komamura Sajin has turned into a beast, but he is still the captain of the 7th Division who guards Seirei. I made everyone laugh. Komamura Sajin has always had an inferiority complex about his appearance. Although he does not show people with a mask now, the self in the picture has turned into a beast after the end of humanization technique, which makes him I'm very sorry. What are you laughing at? Captain Komamura's courage to sacrifice his life in order to protect Seirei deserves the respect of all of us. Jingle Chunshui's eyes became serious. As the same captain, he may not be able to do this kind of battle mode, but guarding Seirei's heart, all captains are the same. Yes, Captain Komamura, you are the first among our captains to be on the list, and you are our role model, Shu Bing said. On the battlefield, how can such a fearless spirit be ridiculous? Shichang, if I die in the future, you will be the captain of Team 7. Komamura Sajin patted the shooting range on the shoulder, as if comforting the funeral. What is it, Captain? Shooting Field shook off Komamura Sajin's paw and continued. No matter what the captain becomes in the future, you are my captain. A team house. Yamamoto Genryuzai smoothed the beard on his chin, and a bright light flashed in his eyes. Komamura, you are not betrayal, nor have you betrayed your soul, let alone depravity. Komamura Sajin was once discriminated against by others because of his appearance, but Yamamoto did not dislike him. After continuous cultivation, he became the captain of the 7th team. Yamamoto also has some special feelings for Komamura Sajin. Although the race is a werewolf, as long as the goal of protecting the Seirei is the same, any prejudice will no longer exist. The Invisible Empire, the Ice Palace. Damn it, the puppy really gave up his heart, and finally turned into a puppy. Bambietta looked angry and was defeated by her defeated opponent, which made her feel uncomfortable. Moreover, he was beaten so badly that it was not certain whether he was dead or alive. But judging from the previous video, she was made into a zombie by Giselle. Maybe it was because she was severely injured by Komamura Sajin that Giselle found a chance. Otherwise, knowing Giselle's ability, he would have no chance at all. Let's do it. This humanization technique is really a strange ability, but it's a pity that after using it, it just hiccups. It's really a one-time ability, Giselle complained. Void Night Palace. The corner of Tucson's mouth twitched violently. Komamura, do you still want to ask me why I became a Shinigami? You sold your soul and turned into a beast for revenge. You're more crazy than me. What's the difference between throwing away the inner power to obtain the power of humanized technique and pursuing the power of hollow? Why praise and criticize? And Komamura, you turned into a beast, really ugly. At this time, the next name has appeared on the big screen. 35th place in the battle list, Masco du Masculine. Name: Masco du Masculine Force, Invisible Empire Identity, Destroyer. Ability. Holy Text S. Superstar Hero. Attack. 88. Defense. 87 Speed. 85 Intelligence. 79 Vitality. 86. Ryotsu. 88 Combat Power. 620,000. Musco du Muscalan. That bull warrior with the 5-pointed star mask? Omeda rolled his eyes, and he had a deep impression of Masco. When Ace Knot wanted to capture Renji Bankai, he showed up in time to save the field. Well, it's this guy. I thought his strength was mediocre, but I didn't expect him to be in front of me. Komamura Sajin was full of disbelief. When Musk made a mistake, Ace even scolded him a few times. It stands to reason that his status is lower than that of Ace, but he did not expect that Musk is still ranked in front of Ace in the combat power list. A person is not judged by his appearance. This Musk's strength is terrifying, and despite his muscular body, his speed is very sensitive. Sui-Feng frowned. Present world. This masked guy is the one who kicked me last time. Abarai Renji frowned tightly, his eyes full of murderous intent. Although he kicked himself into the air to prevent his Bankai from being taken away in a disguised form, the flying kick made Renji feel ashamed. He may even be seriously injured, whether he can be cured or not is a matter of course. It's that bull warrior, ha ha ha, Renji, that guy ranks very high, even ahead of Captain Komamura, you deserve to be beaten. Kurosaki Ichigo covered his mouth and smiled. In terms of speed and strength, Musk is definitely not something Renji can catch up with. Of course, it's Renji who doesn't get the full power of Bankai right now. When he mastered Bankai Su Zabumeru completely, Masake would be no match for him. Chapter 54, Units of Measurement Muguruma Kensai, Seeking Data. However, at this time, the video has already started playing on the big screen. When Rukia and Renji came back from the Lingwang Palace, Ma Si could see the two of them and immediately became interested. He looked into the distance and said with interest, I don't know who is coming, but they landed far away from us. Should we go there, James? Standing beside him was a short, fat boy with a bald head and wearing glasses, and hurriedly said, if you can defeat such a shining guy, sir, you will definitely attract more attention from everyone. The bald boy named James is Musk's entourage and his fan. He will ring the final bell when Musk wins his opponent, and is also responsible for the activation of Musk's hero ability, that is, solidarity. It also has extraordinary regeneration ability. As long as Masco is still alive, even if his physical tissue is cut into multiple fragments, he can still regenerate a brand new individual from it, and in the state of splitting into multiple individuals next, it will strengthen James's solidarity. Only when the two are combined can they display 100% of their abilities. It stands to reason that James needs to be added to Musk's combat power list information. Seirei. Rukia looked at herself and Renji, suddenly a little surprised and curious. Because they were wrapped in bandages, as if they were just recovering from a serious illness. And this Quincy named Masco even brought a fan with him, how stupid. So shining, it's Rukia and Renji. Byakuya Kuchiki frowned slightly. I really want to know why Rukia became like that. That guy doesn't look very bright, but Abarai's vice captain and Rukia are probably not his opponents either. Rangaku looked at Rukia. Against ordinary Quincy, the Shinigami have paid a heavy price. Not to mention Musk, who is ranked 35th, Renji and Rukia are not captains. Rukia nodded. Although Renji and I are not strong enough to defeat Quincy, we can hold it back. In the video, Musk listened to James's words, okay, I'm going, don't fall behind, James. But just as he was about to jump away, an iron chain suddenly wrapped around his ankle. Ma CK turned his head and looked, and found that it was Shu Bing who was seriously injured and fell to the ground. He blocked his way with Zanpakuto Wind Death. You only counted down to 3, do you think you've defeated me? Shu Bing firmly grasped the chain, even though his body was covered in bruises, he still wanted to restrain Quincy. Musk didn't speak, but silently picked up the chain on the ground and yanked it. Thunderplow hot knife. His thick arms stretched out, like a solid wall, Shu Bing slammed into it fiercely. So what if I think so? Ma CK's contemptuous voice sounded, and then he threw Shu Bing heavily to the ground. This scene was seen by everyone, but Shu Bing's expression was intriguing. Didn't expect it, it's me again. Even Shu Bing himself didn't expect that he was the one who was beaten this time. At first, he was nearly killed by a large number of massacres, and then he was beaten by Giselle Bumby and even Byakuya Kuchiki. Now it's Masco's turn? Wouldn't he swear to never give up if he didn't get beaten up by all the Quincy Masters? Hisagi, you are really miserable. Kira patted Shuhei's shoulder and sighed silently. Shu Bing smiled calmly. If I hadn't been beaten so many times, I definitely wouldn't be able to smile so calmly. 3 seconds? Hisagi was instantly killed by Musk in 3 seconds? Zaraki Kenpachi's mouth twitched, and a smile appeared on his face. Strong, this Quincy should be the strongest one he has ever seen. It would be a wonderful thing if we could make 2 moves with him. 3 seconds is a real man, Hisagi. A corner also showed a smile and tease. Shu Bing smiled again, but this time he looked a little embarrassed. Being killed in 3 seconds, I can't hold back my face. In the video screen, Ma CK threw Shu Bing hard to the ground, and was about to lift his foot to step on it. But suddenly, another big foot was placed under Masco's feet. Muguruma Kensai comes to the rescue. It's really useless to be knocked out by others before even showing the results of cultivation, Deputy Captain. Quan Shi looked at Shu Bing, who had lost consciousness, shook his head and said. Ma Si didn't know Shu Bing's identity, and asked, "Are you a companion of these people?" "I'm the leader of the guy in the sleeveless shirt over there, captain of the 9th Division, Muguruma Kensai. People are called units of measurement. Captain, you're really good, but I still hope you don't hinder me. Usually, you should be the most ideal opponent, but now I'm going to find the most dazzling falling object." Marcus glared at Quan Shi viciously. "Oh, don't say that. There are 2 captains in front of you. When it comes to dazzling, we will never lose to anyone." A Toribashi Rojuro's voice came from behind. "The fighting power of the 2 is at least as much as 6 punches." Visored. This Musk's brain is not working well, and his eyes are not working well. Muguruma Kensai was gearing up, and continued. "The landing point over there is clearly Rukia Kuchiki and Aburai Renji. How could they be as dazzling as this, right, Rojuro?" Lu Shilong nodded gracefully. "Who made that guy an idiot?" Seirei. "Fortunately, there is the captain of the 6th car." Captain Shu sighed. Although he was already used to the feeling of being rescued, but he couldn't be sure that if he really fell into the pit and no one rescued him, it would really be over. Muguruma Kensai and Toribashi Rojuro, when they appeared last time, they seemed to be made into zombies by me. It's really interesting. Kurotsuchi Mayuri smiled lightly. Could it be that they were injected with the same drug that was injected into Captain Hitsugaya at that time? He can probably guess. In the picture, Muguruma Kensai does not have the slightest ink. Don't worry, it won't take up too much of your time. He directly pulled out the Zanpakuto, Bankai, Iron Fist Broken Wind. Suddenly, Kensai's arms were wrapped around caterpillars, and the caterpillars of both arms were connected behind his back, with armor on his back. He held 2 short swords with teeth in his hands, which had a very unique shape. Seeing this, Musk immediately got excited, and said contemptuously, "It seems that this is the only way to go. Count down to 10, and I will kill you." Chapter 55. Quan Chi's highlight moment. This is the strong one. Visored. Damn guy, you actually say such stupid things as counting to 10 and you're done with me, you really don't have enough brains. Muguruma Kensai punched the sandbag on the side twice to vent his anger at being looked down upon. As the weakest captain, he is the unit of measure. But to be able to become the captain, there must be something special. Quan Chi himself has a violent temper, and when he is impatient, he is no different from someone like Masco. It's too ironic to be looked down upon so much. Kenichi, Hisagi was killed in 3 seconds. Quincy left you 10 seconds. It seems that he thinks highly of you, but in fact he doesn't take you seriously at all. Love Aikawa laughed one sound. In fact, I don't blame him. After all, Masco's appearance, coupled with what he said, Love Aikawa, who has a low smile, it's hard not to laugh. Wait a while until I hit him until he doesn't have the courage to say that again, right? Within 10 seconds, I'll kill him instantly. Muguruma Kensai touched with 2 bandaged hands, his face full of disbelief. Seirei. Is this the Bankai who was the captain of the 9th Division? The shape is quite unique. Tōshirō said lightly. It's just a unique shape, and there are not many changes in the rest. If you insist on saying yes, maybe those 2-hand knives are more eye-catching. Unlike his own Bankai, which has a larger overall change, the Bankai of Muguruma Kensai seems to pay more attention to practicality. The captain of the 6th car will definitely defeat Masco, I believe in him. Shu Bing clenched his fists with anticipation in his expression. This statement did not get the approval of others. You know, when Muguruma Kensai first appeared, it was with Hiroko Shinji visored. At that time he didn't use Bankai, but hollow power. Even so, there is nothing unique about him. Hisagi is right, we should trust the captain of the 6th car. Jingle Chunshui set an example and said hastily. HMPH, what's the use of believing, don't do these self-deceiving things. Zaraki Kenpachi pursed his lips and shook his head. He has also dealt with Muguruma Kensai. The specific strength is not clear, but it is obviously difficult to defeat Masco. Invisible Empire. This guy's Bankai doesn't seem to have changed much. Musk, you should be able to get rid of him easily. Ace Knot is very optimistic about Musk. Although he usually dislikes Masco, but he has never doubted Masco's strength. And Muguruma Kensai releases Bankai in front of Masco, which means that he is not afraid of the power of the stars. Could it be because of the ability to absorb Bankai, it was cracked by the Shinigami? Didn't I say that? I only give that guy 10 seconds. If I don't get rid of him in 10 seconds, I'll be ashamed. Ma Sike covered his face and said a little embarrassedly. I believe in Mr. Musk, and he will be dealt with in 10 seconds. James clapped his hands and cheered. In the video screen, without saying a word, Ma CK suddenly stood on tiptoe. His body rushed towards Quan Chi like a cannonball. There was a loud bang, just like a tornado destroying the parking lot. Ma CK hit the ground and caused powerful damage. But the next second, he froze. His feet were actually blocked by Quanzai's hand. What's this? Ma Si didn't expect that Quanzai's arm was so strong, he seemed to be kicking on a steel plate. Shu Bing, you were defeated by this three-legged cat move. Mugaruma Kensai's veins bulged, he raised his fist suddenly, and slammed Masco hard. Boom. A violent shock wave followed, and a circular deep pit was shaken out of the ground. This punch directly made Masco's eyes bloodshot, and he fell to his knees in pain. Wow, whoa, whoa. Masco clutched his stomach, moaning in pain. Just now he said that the battle should be resolved within 10 seconds, but the 10 seconds had already passed, and he was beaten horribly. Visored. Mugaruma Kensai lifted up his clothes and showed a hearty smile. That guy who doesn't know what's good or bad, actually said that he would kill me in 10 seconds. Now it's okay, he can't get up. 15 seconds, if you don't follow me, he explained my ability, and probably killed him within 10 seconds. Quan Shi deliberately counted the time. Oh, it looks like I don't need to play. Lu Shilang shook his head. Saraiti. Nani, Mugaruma Kensai's punch is so brave. Zaraki Kenpachi was a little surprised, obviously he underestimated the power of Mugaruma Kensai at first. The speed is not inferior. Yi Zhao nodded, with a stern look on his face, but that guy Musk doesn't seem to be serious yet. In the video, Quan Shi did not take advantage of the danger. After he picked up Ma CK, he said mockingly, how was that punch just now? My Duanfeng is Zanpakuto who makes the swinging sword explode, and Iron Fist Duanfeng is Bankai who injects the power of the explosion into his fists. The explosive power will be continuously injected without limit at the moment when the fists collide. Kensai explains his Bankai abilities. Similar to Bambietta's spirit bomb, but there are some differences in essence. After speaking, Mugaruma Kensai shook his fist again. Boom. There was another muffled sound from fist to flesh. Musk's eyes were about to burst. I'll beat you up. Swish. Masco's body drew an arc like throwing a stone, and slammed into the wall of the ice palace heavily, and then fell heavily to the ground. Present world. Nani, is this instant kill? Abarai Renji frowned, and his eyes shone with disbelief. Ma CK is the destroyer who kills Shu Bing in 3 seconds. When facing Mugaruma Kensai, he has no resistance at all. This Mugaruma Kensai is too pervert. What a strong captain. Although he was the former captain, at that time in the video, he seemed to be the captain of the team again. Saraiti gradually regained his face. Kurosaki Ichigo was also shocked. And that guy didn't even use Hollow's power, and killed the opponent in a flash. Could it be that he is the strongest in Visored? In the video screen, Lu Shilang looked at Masco who flew out, his face was full of embarrassment. Originally came to support Mugaruma Kensai, but ended up doing nothing. Lie down and win the game. Chapter 56. Bankai Kinsara Dance Troupe. It seems that there is no chance to play. Lu Shilang shook his head helplessly. But at this time, Musk's fan follower James looked at the master who was beaten into the air in the distance, and suddenly burst into tears with snot and tears. No, don't lose, sir. Sir. Attracted by James's crying, Quan Shi turned his head and saw a hairy kid with a grin on his lips. Oh, the enemy is too weak, but it makes me look like a villain who bullies others. Killing an opponent with one move is a wonderful feeling. It was as if he was a big boss targeted by everyone, facing some small bastards. Wrong. Wrong captain. At this time, Shu Bing had come to his senses and raised his head with difficulty. Huh, what's the matter? Are you awake? Kensai found Shu Bing who was calling for him. Somewhat inexplicable. Obviously, he had already instantly killed his opponent. What did Shu Bing say? He was wrong. You should kill that little guy first, otherwise. Before Shu Bing finished speaking, James shouted at Musk, stand up, superstar. This cry seemed to erase all the scars on Masco's body, and he stood up again, swinging his arms upwards, showing the shape of his biceps. Mugaruma Kensai outside the video was stunned. What's the situation? That kid actually called Masco back. You must know that your punch has explosive damage. Not to mention being able to beat Masco to death, which is obviously unrealistic, but it shouldn't be a problem to be able to beat him to serious injuries. However, it is unscientific to stand up again so easily, as if nothing happened. I just said how could the person in the 35th place be killed by you so easily, there must be some knowledge in it, probably that brat, who can recover Masco's injury. Hiyori glanced at Mugaruma Kensai glance. It seems that which kid needs to be defeated first before Masco can be completely defeated. Hiriko analyzed. That brat doesn't seem to have any combat power. He should only be responsible for empowering Masco. He handed it over to Rojuro. With the cooperation of the two of you, it is still easy to defeat them. Lu Shilang nodded. It's on me. Saraiti. I said that Musk would not be defeated so easily, and it turned out to be the case. Zaraki Kenpachi thought at the beginning that Mugaruma Kensai was not Musk's opponent. Otherwise, he would not be ranked 35th. This ability to recover from injuries is very suitable for protracted battles. I just don't know if Masco, who has stood up again, will improve his ability. If there is no improvement, Mugaruma Kensai will be done with one more punch, but this situation is not realistic. It's interesting, and we can recover from injuries through solidarity. Kurotsuchi Mayuri's eyes lit up, as if he had found a new world. In the video, Masco, who suddenly appeared, punched the unsuspecting Mugaruma Kensai, and by the way put his kick in Rujuro's abdomen. The two were instantly sent flying. IMS, the hero Masco du Muscalan. Solidarity is my strength. Musk grinned, revealing two big white faces. Quan Chi kicked away the gravel that was pressing on his body, and a carp stood up straight. Well, the warm-up is over. Quan Chi wiped away the blood stains around his mouth, and said with firm eyes. Although the injury on his face was obvious, it didn't stop him from attacking next. Looking at Masco, who was enjoying himself in the distance, Kenshi rushed over with cold eyes. But suddenly, Masco in his eyes disappeared. Quan Chi was stunned for a moment, he didn't realize at all when Masco disappeared. Star Eagle kick. In the next second, Masco's flying kick hit Quan Chi's body hard. Ah! Quan Chi spit blood from the mouth of the kick, the power of this blow was simply too strong. He can't bear it at all. It's not over yet. Star head hammer. Masco directly held Quan Chi's head with his hands. Damn it, don't be complacent, forget yourself. It was impossible for Kenshi to let it go, he clenched his fist, and punched Masco's body with a fist full of anger without fancy. He released the power of his explosion to the maximum extent. However, in the next second, Marcus started to fight back as if he was unconscious. Quan Chi punched again, this time the fist was directly held by Masco. It doesn't work at all. Musco grinned. Come on, Supernova. On the other side, James was still cheering for Musco, looking like he deserved a beating. Well done, James. Invisible Empire. Marcus looked at James beside him and praised him with a smile. Sir, you are a supernova. James took out two mallets for gongs and drums, and shook them left and right in his hands. Mugaruma Kensai is overconfident. He thinks his strength can defeat me, what an idiot. Musk sarcastically said. Visored. Damn brat, you should kill that solidarity first. It's really annoying to be on the sidelines. Mugaruma Kensai grinned, watching himself being beaten up by such an opponent, he felt very uncomfortable. In the video, while pinching Quan Chi's arm, Masco's palm was vertical, like a knife in his hand, and he slammed into Quan Chi's arm fiercely. With a click, both bones of Quan Chi's arm were broken. Then came another heavy hammer to the head. Quan Chi was directly smashed to the ground, his right arm was completely deformed and twisted. But Masco didn't let his heart down, he rushed over like Mount Tai, and pressed his knee against Quan Zai's chest, causing him to lose consciousness and die on the ground. Mugaruma Kensai, killed in seconds. Before Musk could be proud, a scream came from behind him. The voice came from James, who was pierced through the heart by Rojuro with the Zanpakuto Kinsaro. Rojuro continued to swing Jin Shiluo, and James was cut off in the middle. James. UB **************, D, you actually hurt a powerless fan, what a despicable guy. Seeing James's miserable situation, Musk clenched his fists and roared. Whatever you say, if this guy isn't around, you won't be able to display your strength. Rojuro said lightly, I won't let the opportunity that Kenshi has created with all his strength go. Bankai. Jinshiluo Dance Troupe. Chapter 57. Vicious Person, Rukia ranks 34th on the list. Bankai Kinsara Dance Troupe. When Rojuro performed Bankai, 2 rows of slender and golden dancers appeared instantly. The heads of the members are like octopus teeth, bearing their teeth and claws. And there are 2 huge palms floating in the sky. Holding a baton in his hand, he seems to be manipulating the actions of the members below. There is such a Bankai. The real Abarai Renji was very shocked, creating such a strange scene like an illusion, this kind of Bankai ability is rare. Bankai, like himself and Kurosaki Ichigo, directly transfigure Zanpakuto to gain power. This most intuitive power is indeed relatively ordinary in terms of visual effects. Manipulating the power of music, if I'm not mistaken, Rojuro's Bankai should be a type of illusion. Kurosaki Ichigo also widened his eyes in disbelief. Seraiti. What a shocking scene, this is much cooler than Captain Mugaruma Kensai's Bankai. Looking at the picture in the video, Rukia secretly swallowed a mouthful of spit. It seems that his strength can be as strong as 5 or 6 fists. In terms of strength alone, Masco does have the advantage, but Rojuro can completely use other advantages to win. Jashiro didn't think that Rojuro would be easily defeated. The Invisible Empire, the Ice Palace. What the hell, I don't know music, what are you doing with such gaudy things? Marcus scratched his head, his face full of confusion. That's that guy's Bankai, you better watch out. Ace Knot glanced at him and said. In the video screen. Rojuro put on an elegant pose. Jinshiluo Dance Troupe is a dance troupe of death, the fair will be covered by your life. His eyes were indifferent. The first piece to play today, Ocean Currents. In an instant, the members of the Golden Dance Troupe of the dance troupe began to spin rapidly. Masco was surrounded by groups, looking at the dazzling scene in front of him, his expression was a little flustered. The members of the dance troupe didn't turn around blindly, they created a lot of torrents while spinning. The torrent swirled along with it, and the formed Uzumaki of water swallowed Masco directly. What is this, is it water? Ma CK was stunned. He was inexplicable. Why so much water flow was generated in an instant. Before waiting for Ma Sike to relax, Lu Julong swayed and danced again. The second track, the emissary of the volcano. As his voice fell, the chrysanthemum-like heads of the dance troupe members suddenly spewed out a lot of flames. The flames soared into the sky and burned directly towards Masco. This is the so-called two heavens of ice and fire. Mas can't believe it. How could there be a Zanpakuto who can control both water and fire? It stands to reason that Zanpakuto only has one ability of Grandmaster, either water or fire, two completely incompatible abilities. Why are they used at the same time? Compared to Muguruma Kensai, this Rojuro's Bankai is much stronger. Litoto, a member of the Knights, said with great interest. Compared to that big guy, I like this guy more. Marco, don't beat him too badly, at least leave my face intact. Ha ha ha. Litoto, you like this kind of type. Well, I will be merciful, but the me in the video may not hear your words. Ma CK said with a silly smile. He wasn't worried about Rojuro's Bankai at all. Although there are water and fire attacking at the same time, it is still difficult to defeat him. In the video screen, Ma CK is extremely painful. He denies Rojuro's ability. Impossible, it is impossible to have Zanpakuto who can control fire and water at the same time. These are all deceptions. That's right, my moves are tricks. Lu Shilang said bluntly. However, it is often deception that can confuse people's hearts. What I manipulate is music, and the melody that rings in your ears is a confusing melody, and your heart is gradually being deceived. If the mind is deluded, it will burn you. It will also lead you to death. Then, finally, play the piece that suits you best. The third track, The Career of a Hero. Lu Shilang raised his baton lightly, his eyes full of passion. At this time, Marcus directly covered his ears with his hands. What are you doing? Even if you block your ears, it won't help. Lu Shiro said lightly, watching Masco's behavior. Musk grinned. He didn't simply plug his ears, but punctured his eardrums. Lu Shilang noticed the clue, and his expression tightened immediately. This Quincy is too ruthless. Visored. I thought Marcus was stupid, but I didn't expect him to be so smart. He thought of piercing his eardrums to deal with my Bankai. Lu Shilang waved his hand. He really saw all the enemies. If the eardrum is pierced, you can't hear any sound. Doesn't this mean that Rojuro's Bankai is completely useless to him? Hiyori said. In the picture, Ma CK directly fired a spiritual beam without saying a word. The hero's light, the villain deserves to die. The spirit beam was emitted from his headgear, in the shape of a five-pointed star, directly piercing Rojuro's chest, leaving a five-pointed star hole. Ha 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 ha. Ma CK stood in front of Rojuro who fell on the ground, with his hands on his hips, laughing wildly. The video playback ends here. Seraiti. Nani, the bull warrior's headgear can also attack. I thought he only knows physical skills. Shu Bing frowned, looking at Lu Shilang's miserable state, feeling very uncomfortable. The chest was directly pierced. It seemed that Rojuro could hardly survive. To kill the two captains in an instant, Masco's ability is so strong. Rangaku looked worried. Moreover, someone who can ruthlessly pierce the eardrum, such a decisive person, is indeed difficult to deal with. Captain Fengchao's Bankai has two obvious disadvantages, and it is easy to suffer in battle. Jingle Chunshui explained why. Masco du Muscalan vs Muguruma Kensai, victory. Masco du Muscalan vs Odoribashi Rojuro, victory. Close black lens bracket. As the big screen finished broadcasting Masco's record, the leaderboard continued to be announced. The 34th place in the power list, Rukia Kuchiki. Name, Rukia Kuchiki. Faction, Seraiti. Identity, Shinigami. Ability, Bankai. Attack, 87. Defense, 88. Speed, 86. Intelligence, 88. Vitality, 87. Reiatsu, 85. Kido, 80. Combat power, 650,000. Chapter 58. Enemy's road is narrow, Rukia VSF fears. Rukia Kuchiki. It even made it to the list. Still ranked 34th. Seeing this information, everyone in Seraiti was stunned. Rukia Kuchiki, the Shinigami of the 13th Division, seems to have not won a seat yet. The younger sister of Captain Byakuya Kuchiki of the 6th Division, how could she be on the list? I can't believe it, but her strength surpassed that of Captain Komamura. The Shinigami couldn't accept the result that Rukia Kuchiki ranked 34th. Although both are Shinigami, they should be happy that Shinigami is on the list. But in their eyes, Rukia didn't even reach the level of vice captain, so how could it be possible to be on the list and still rank so high? Really, Rukia, you're on the list. That's amazing. Kira's face brightened, and she quickly looked at Rukia to congratulate her. Rukia was in a daze, and the whole person froze in place. She didn't realize it at the first time. If Kira hadn't congratulated her, she probably thought there was another person named Kuchiki. Rukia Kuchiki is on the list. Byakuya Kuchiki, what do you eat? Zaraki Kenpachi grinned and looked at Byakuya Kuchiki next to him with a cold look. Obviously he was also a little surprised that Rukia was not on his list at all. Even Kenpachi never took Rukia seriously. However, the information displayed on the big screen is very clear. The 34th place is Rukia. Yeah, congratulations Rukia, it's beyond all of our imaginations. Jingle Chunshui smiled at Rukia. In addition to Shinigami who was the captain, Rukia is the first. Even she is not even the chairperson now. If it weren't for Byakuya Kuchiki's face, it is estimated that there would be no shadow of her in the meeting room. I didn't expect to be on the list myself. Rukia said a little shyly. The information shows that there is Bankai on my ability, which means that I will also learn Bankai in the future. Although Bankai is a necessary ability for the captain, Kenpachi is an exception. But there are also vice captains who have mastered this ability, such as Madarame Makaku, Abarai Renji, and even the chief officer Yuki has mastered Bankai. If Rukia owns Bankai in the future, it shows that she has talent in this area. Even Rukia has learned Bankai. I, the vice captain, seem to have to work hard. Rangaku smiled softly at Rukia, and then looked at Tōshirō, captain. Rukia is already on the list, why haven't I seen your name yet? Quote. Tōshirō glanced at Rangaku angrily. Rukia has mastered Bankai, why didn't I see you master it? Rangaku. Present world. Abarai Renji raised the corner of his mouth, although he couldn't believe it in his heart, he still pretended to be very calm. I knew Rukia would be on the list, and me, definitely ahead of her. Shout, how could you rank ahead of Rukia? Rukia has awakened Bankai, so her strength has increased significantly. Kurosaki Ichigo didn't save Renji any face. He continued. Your Bankai has already been learned, it is difficult to play a Yami, how could you be in front of Rukia? Renji got annoyed when he heard that, grabbed Kurosaki Ichigo's collar and cursed. You brat, how do you know that I won't improve like Rukia in the future? Okay. Renji, calm down. Inoue Orihime hurriedly said, we should be happy for Rukia to be on the list. That's natural, it's not that this kid is the one who owes me first, I don't know how to do it. Renji let go of his collar, clapped his hands, and said nonchalantly. The Invisible Empire, the Palace of Ice. Rukia Kuchiki, is that one of the two guys that shined? Masco said with bright eyes. He figured that since he had defeated Muguruma Kensai and Odoribashi Rojuro, it was time to deal with her. Fighting against someone who was ranked 34th and only one higher than himself, it is a bit exciting to think about it. This is Byakuya Kuchiki's younger sister. When Ace dealt with Byakuya Kuchiki, there was a picture of her. I think it's better to hand her over to Ace to deal with. Said Robert. Although Ace's ranking is low, but in terms of the strength of his ability, fear is likely to restrain Rukia. I wish I could, Ace said coldly. At this time, the big screen starts to play the picture. After Rukia Kuchiki and Abarai Renji came to the battlefield, they split up. But Rukia drove for a long time and looked around, not only Shinigami, but even Reiatsu from Quincy didn't find any. What's going on? Rukia stopped in her tracks. In this case, after joining up with Renji, it might be a good idea for the two of us to attack the enemy's residence in one go. She was going to meet up with Renji and rush in. But suddenly, an arm grabbed her arm. Rukia was startled, and turned her head to look quickly. But there was nothing behind him. What's going on? Did the feeling just now be Reiatsu? Rukia withdrew her arm and touched it with the other hand, finding it cold. Who's there? 390 inches. Rukia narrowed her eyes and shouted forward. Ah, are you scared? I am very lonely. A very hoarse and deep voice came from behind Rukia, which instantly gave her goosebumps. At the same time, a silhouette like a zombie appeared in the air. Who are you? Rukia suddenly turned her head to look, and her heart tightened when she saw Ace Naught's appearance. So lonely, so lonely, so lonely. Ace Naught moaned, where is my Senbon Sakura? Outside the video, Rukia looked at Byakuya Kuchiki when he saw Ace appearing. I didn't expect my opponent to be this Quincy. Ace Naught, who ranks 37th in the combat power list, once beat Byakuya Kuchiki to death in one fell swoop. Ha ha ha, it's really a narrow road to enemies. Byakuya Kuchiki, your enemy, even asked Rukia Kuchiki to help you solve it. It's really shameful, Zaraki Kenpachi said with a sarcasm. Byakuya Kuchiki didn't speak, worried for Rukia. Is she really Ace's match? This Ace Naught's appearance is too intrusive, like a ghost. Rangaku complained. I have been arguing so lonely, like an old woman. Chapter 59 Fearless, the real Soda no Shirayuki. Seeking first order. The video shows Ace Tenno yelling grimly, where is my Senbon Sakura? Rukia suddenly turned her head to look, her gaze filled with an aura of extreme disgust. Although she has never met Ace Naught, but from his mouth said Senbon Sakura, it can be confirmed without a doubt. He is the Quincy who defeated Byakuya Kuchiki. Is it you, the one who took away the Bankai of Big Brother, Ace Naught? Rukia regained her composure, staring at Ace like a giant Buddha, completely unable to feel her fear. Ace Naught pulled off the Quincy cloak. He actually knew Rukia, and knew him well. I know you, Byakuya Kuchiki's sister, Rukia Kuchiki, where is Byakuya Kuchiki? Apparently Ace Naught's target is not Rukia, but Byakuya Kuchiki. I have no obligation to answer you. Rukia Kuchiki said flatly. Hearing this, Ace Naught's eyes suddenly widened, his ferocious face looked like an evil ghost. Would he come here if he killed you? Rukia smiled faintly. Maybe. Saraiti. Byakuya Kuchiki looked at the big screen, nothing could be seen on his calm face, but his heart was burning like fire. Rukia is no match for Ace Naught, this is Byakuya's first 310 idea. He didn't want to see Rukia defeated, and then he showed up to deal with Ace again. Instead, show up just in time to protect Rukia. Captain Kuchiki was seriously injured by Ace Naught before, but the injury should have recovered. Shubing turned to look at Byakuya Kuchiki. When Byakuya was fighting Ace, everyone thought he was going to die because of his towering look. But combined with the previous video, Byakuya Kuchiki appeared on the battlefield to deal with Shubing controlled by Giselle. It means that he will not die, and his injuries have healed. Could it be that human woman who helped you heal? Byakuya Kuchiki, are you so useless that you need human help? Zaraki Kenpachi folded his arms, his eyes full of disdain for Byakuya Kuchiki. Unohana Retsu agrees with Zaraki Kenpachi because according to her Kaido, there is no guarantee that Byakuya Kuchiki will be healed after being seriously injured. It is bound to use the power of Inoue or Hime. Yeah, it's not something to be ashamed of with the help of human beings. Jingle Chunshui smiled faintly. He is not as stubborn as Yamamoto Genryuzai, with a broken arm, he can use Inoue or Hime's power to restore it, but he didn't do it. They didn't know that Byakuya Kuchiki was cured by Team Zero's Tōshirō. In the video screen, Ace didn't say much, and the whites of his eyes were horrified when he narrowed his eyes slightly. He spread out his hands, and many awls and light bullets instantly formed a circle. Ace turned his head slightly, and the awl shot out instantly. Rukia reacted very quickly, the light bullet missed her, but fell behind her. The imaginable explosion did not appear, and the all-light bomb seemed to turn into puddles of water. Rukia analyzed while hiding. The place touched by that light thorn will be infiltrated by something, this is the ability of that guy, fear. While she was distracted, a cone of light flew towards her. Soda no Shirayuki. Rukia used the zipping knife to create an ice shield in front of him, but he never thought that the ice shield could not resist the light cone. The light cone pierced through the ice wall and continued to penetrate. It's useless, fear is not something that ice can defend against. Ace said coldly, and stared into deathly eyes. Kai. The ice pick pierced Rukia Kuchiki's chest and slowly penetrated into the body. Outside the video, Rukia's face is full of panic. My Soda no Shirayuki can't resist the attack of Ace Tino. She couldn't help thinking about how she could hurt Ace. Bankai. But she doesn't even know what her AEFB, Bankai is. Facing the fear attack that can penetrate everything, her attribute is ice, even if it is Bankai, what can I do against him? The attack of fear is not a physical attack, so Rukia's ice wall has no way to block Ace's attack. Tōshirō analyzed. Zanpakuto, who is also of the ice attribute, has a deeper feeling. The other party's attack is fear. As long as there is no fear in the heart, it will be like Masike piercing the eardrum to resolve Rujuro's Bankai, and it will be self-defeating. No fear inside. Rukia swallowed. The words are simple, but there is no fear in the heart, it is obviously unrealistic. I just hope that Ace won't use my elder brother's Bankai against me. Rukia doesn't expect anything else, if she sees Senbon Sakura, her inner fear will probably deepen. Present world. Renji looked anxious. What the hell ability, the ice wall can't block the attack. He grinned and cursed, Rukia was attacked, and he was very upset. It's useless to be anxious, I hope Rukia's Bankai can come in handy. Kurosaki Ichigo frowned and continued to watch the video. In the video, after Rukia was attacked, she felt a sudden chill in her heart. Soda no Shirayuki also fell to the ground. Ahahaha, ahahaha. I can't move, I can't do anything, that's fear, that's what the so-called fear is. Ace tilted his neck, tilted his entire upper body, and his long hair was hanging on his head, like a female ghost beckoning. Is this fear? Feeling the emptiness and desolation in her heart, Rukia calmed down and said lightly, in this case, what is your fear? What did you say? Ace asked gloomily. The fact that fear doesn't work for me is the fear for you. Rukia raised her head slowly, her lifeless gaze made her look like a puppet. Ace kept tilting his head to kill, fear, doesn't it work for you? His eyes widened suddenly. That's impossible. You said it was impossible. Do you really think so? Rukia stood still and continued, you can try to assassinate me with that light thorn again. Ace felt a sense of being provoked, and narrowed his eyes slightly, look at it, and then be afraid. At this time, Rukia picked up Soda no Shirayuki again, his expression recovered a little, and his eyes became awe-inspiring. This is the real Soda no Shirayuki. Chapter 60 Molecular Biology. 18 degrees below zero. Seeking first order. Fear. Rukia is not afraid of fear anymore. Seeing Rukia's plain appearance, many Shinigami in Saraiti were suddenly amazed. Rukia, who was still in fear just now, actually eliminated the fear in her heart in the blink of an eye. He even said something like asking the other party to stab her with the light cone again. Is the fear really eliminated, or is it a tactic she developed to pretend to be fearless? The real Soda no Shirayuki, I really have seen it. Two nodded with great interest. His Zanpakuto is the strongest in the ice type, and Rukia's Zanpakuto Soda no Shirayuki is the most beautiful in the ice type. Two Zanpakuto that are called most Bankai Daiguren Hyarinmaru, the strongest Zanpakuto Hyarinmaru, is naturally known to everyone. And Bankai, the most beautiful Soda no Shirayuki, can really overcome fear. The way Rukia looks at this moment, it's completely like she's got rid of her fear. Rangaku didn't understand. It is impossible to be without fear in the human heart, and Rukia is indeed fearless at this time. Is it really Zanpakuto's effect? Invisible Empire. Impossible. How could Rukia Kuchiki resist my fear? Ace stared at the dead fish eyes, unable to understand. Obviously, the light cone passed through the ice wall just now, and fear has penetrated into Rukia's body. Why didn't it work? Even he was provoked by the other party. You must know that such a fearful power, even Yuhabach, who endowed him with the ability of holy writing, cannot be spared. Yuhabach also had fear in his heart. He dreamed that a man in black would kill him in the future. Even if he has omniscience and omnipotence, he cannot escape fear. In the video screen, after being provoked, Ace not decisively released the light cone again. Rukia saw it, but didn't panic at all. She stretched out her hand, and grabbed one of the light cones. But the rest of the light cone went on, shooting into Rukia's chest. Ace was very proud, and couldn't help asking, "You said, you can try to assassinate me with that light thorn again?" The person who has been chased by the light thorn and fled everywhere from the beginning just now, can still say such big words. Ace stared at Rukia coldly, and light cones appeared continuously around his body. But at this moment, the cone of light in Rukia's hand suddenly turned into an ice cube, which shattered with a crack and fell to the ground, breaking into 8 pieces. The attack of fear was actually turned into ice cubes. Ace Knot was dumbfounded, his slender body stood there like a stick. Rukia explained. As I said earlier, although the true power of Soda no Shirayuki can be channeled, the body needs time to adapt, and it cannot be attacked by you until then. Ace Knot was only briefly surprised, and soon became indifferent. So what if you get frostbitten? As I said, fear is not something that ice can defend against. He raised his arm and continued. My fear doesn't enter your body from the wound, but just a little contact with the skin, and it can continue to penetrate into your body. So, you can't defend yourself. Ace Knot introduced Rukia to fear like a therapist. Sure enough, a jet black liquid appeared in Rukia's palm, which was also the process of fear seeping into her body. No matter who it is, there are people who are at ease in objects of fear in their hearts. When stepping into a place that makes people feel at ease, when asked why they want to find this peace of mind, they will blurt out without thinking, it is natural to look for that feeling of peace of mind. But once you step into a scary place, no matter how stupid you are, you will have very clear reasons for fear. For example, dark, cold, afraid of heights, cramped, painful, dirty, etc. At its root, peace of mind means life, fear means death. People who cannot answer reasons for wanting to live are the same as those who can answer reasons for not wanting to die, not just those who have emotions biology. For all creatures, death is to be feared, and there is an instinctive idea of wanting to avoid it. Quote. Ace Knot explained all his abilities to Rukia, proving that she is not fooled by fear. Life represents everything, to be born to get rid of fear, to constantly practice yourself, to grow up to get rid of fear. As long as people have life, you can never get rid of fear. Not to mention Quincy, even the Shinigami agree with Ace Knot's point of view. As long as a person has life, there will be fear in his heart. Ace Knot is right. Jingle Chunshui couldn't help but nodded in agreement. Although as the veteran captain of Serai T, it is not a good thing to agree with the enemy's ability. But it must be admitted that Ace's ability can affect everyone. Just like himself, when fighting against Robert, if he has no distractions, then he can definitely beat his opponent. However, he was shaken in his heart and feared, and was shot through the right eye by Robert. After feeling the disappearance of Yamamoto Genryuzai Reiatsu, the fear in his heart reached the extreme, and he was hit hard by several light bullets from Robert. Fear is the biggest challenger in the heart of man. No matter who it is, the fear of possessing the holy script ability F will be restrained. Kira said lightly. Unless the strength is at the level of crushing, you will feel the fear in your heart to some extent. No, Ace Knot's ability is indeed very strong, but against Captain Komamura, maybe the ability will not be effective. Shubbing turned to look at Komamura Sajin's big dog head. Komamura Sajin no longer has a heart after learning the humanization technique. He has given up his life and has no fear in his heart. It stands to reason that it can perfectly restrain Ace Knot. I have no fear in order to protect Serai T, but it is a pity that after I get rid of Bambietta, my ability will no longer exist. Komamura Sajin clenched his fist and slammed it on the pillar of the meeting room, a little annoyed. How wonderful it would be if I could persist for a while longer and get rid of Ace Knot, a tricky opponent. Byakuya Kuchiki looked at Rukia tenderly, and said, Captain Komamura, don't blame yourself, I think Rukia has the same determination as you, she has no fear at this moment. In the video screen, Rukia was unimpressed by Ace Knot's remarks. Although she agrees very much, but at this moment, she has no fear. Yeah, as long as people have life, they can't escape fear, so I said that fear doesn't work for me. Rukia said. Ace Knot was even more confused. 0. Asking for flowers. Don't you understand, now I have no life to speak of. Rukia's eyes are like knives, and she actually brought a trace of fear to Ace Knot. With a whoosh, she jumped up with the finch easily, and the silk of Soda no Shirayuki wrapped around her body, and a Reiatsu burst out. Ace Knot didn't understand yet, and continued to ask, what do you mean by that? Soda no Shirayuki, the cold air is emitted from the tip of the knife, not the blade, and it is Zanpakuto that freezes the body of its owner, to sub-zero temperatures. As he spoke, the tip of Soda no Shirayuki's knife was already generating a chill. Rukia's whole body also began to be wrapped in cold air, and layers of ice formed on the surface of the skin. Click. The extremely cold temperature shattered the goggles on Rukia's head and fell to the ground. Ace Knot froze in place. Rukia explained. Everything touched by Soda no Shirayuki will be frozen, and the blade is just to expand the frozen area. It's nonsense. If the human body is frozen below zero, the movement of molecules will stop, and human life activities will not be maintained. Oh. Ace Knot clasped his hands behind his back, a person like that can't live. How can you still be alive? That's right, I am indeed dead now. Rukia has learned how to temporarily kill her own body by controlling her spirit son in the Soul King Palace. Now all molecular movement in her body has stopped. So the fear that penetrated into her body can only stay on the surface of her body and cannot move. Rukia stretched out her hand, and the black ink of fear remained in her palm, making Ace Knot mistakenly think that fear had penetrated her body. Control your spirit son and temporarily kill your body. Hearing Rukia's explanation, the captains of Seraiti were stunned. This explanation is too advanced, because it is beyond their cognition. In other words, Rukia's current body structure is like a cold corpse. It's so interesting. Kurotsuchi Mayuri smiled, and Yuguang had already placed it on Rukia's body. A cold corpse capable of maintaining sanity, and all abilities. This is much more interesting than zombie Xiaobai and zombie boxing. This ability is terrifying. For Ace Knot's fear, Rukia's heart is no longer shaken. Rangaku was amazed. No wonder Rukia reacted to the fear attack at first, it turned out that it took a while to trigger the ability. But I never thought that this period of time brought blind confidence to Ace Knot. The true power of Soda no Shirayuki is revealed in this way. Tōshirō frowned tightly. Based on this alone, his title of Zanpakuto, the strongest ice and snow element, would be lost. In the video screen, Ace thought that the two of them were just a simple and rough fight, but Rukia's analysis of molecular biology confused him. Who can bear this? He thought Rukia was bluffing him, and his voice became excited. This kind of thing is impossible, you lied. But at this moment, a white light flashed, Rukia came over, and Zanpakuto had already cut Ace Knot's shoulder. -18 degrees. Chapter 61. The moment of life and death, Byakuya Kuchiki comes. Seeking first order. -18 degrees. Rukia's sudden attack even made Ace Knot not aware of it for half a minute. In the blink of an eye, the shoulders were cut. This kind of speed is not even possessed by Robert, who is good at speed. While Ace Tino was surprised, he seemed to understand what Rukia Kuchiki said just now. At this moment, she has no fear at all. Ace Knot looked at Rukia behind him with slanted eyes, and at the same time noticed that his broken left shoulder did not shed a drop of blood. At -18 degrees, the blood will be frozen, and no blood will flow out of the incision. Rukia said lightly. -18 degrees. The knife wound alone can produce -18 degrees of cold. Outside the video, Rangaku widened his colored contact lenses, a little unbelievable. The attack comes with a temperature of -18 degrees, which means that Rukia's body temperature must be kept at -18 degrees, or even lower. Although her body molecules are no longer functioning at this time, the temperature has reached -18 degrees, which is too exaggerated. Moreover, Rangaku didn't even notice Rukia's surprise attack just now. How Rukia passed, she didn't even see clearly. Is Rukia's progress so great? Isn't it? Rukia has become so powerful. Zaraki Kenpachi looked at Rukia with some crazy eyes. Unexpectedly, this unremarkable flat-chested girl had such great potential. It even gave Zaraki Kenpachi a stronger desire to fight than fighting Byakuya Kuchiki himself. Rukia Kuchiki, you go out and fight with me now. Kenpachi couldn't help the fighting spirit in his heart. Hearing this, Byakuya Kuchiki turned sideways immediately, intending to block Kenpachi's passing route. I thought Zaraki, 873, Kenpachi is crazy, Rukia is still an ordinary Shinigami now, how can he have the strength in the video screen? Even if there is, he can't let Rukia and Kenpachi, a fighting madman, fight. Aegean, calm down, Rukia's current strength is not enough to compete with you. Yachinliu grabbed Zaraki Kenpachi's sleeve with both hands, and hurriedly stopped him. She hopes that Zaraki Kenpachi can get a chance to fight heartily, but now is not the time. Okay. Kenpachi coughed lightly. After you master this ability, I will fight you again. Rukia. Her heart is in denial. Present world. Kurosaki Ichigo and Abarai Renji each opened their mouths wide open, their jaws were about to drop from shock. Is this still the Rukia they know? 18 degrees below zero, freezing the hot blood. Sato also showed a rare look of surprise. Is this still the same Rukia who was easily broken by Yami after Shikai Soda no Shirayuki? The extreme cold of minus 18 degrees, even facing the giant Yami, is definitely an instant kill. Inoue Orihime clenched his fists, put them on his chin, and said excitedly, unexpectedly, Rukia is the strongest among us. In the video screen, swish, Rukia swung the knife down again. There was a crisp sound of freezing all around. The roof, walls, and even the ground of the ice palace are directly covered with ice, and wisps of cold air rise to the sky, causing the surrounding temperature to drop sharply. Now the ice palace has really become an ice palace. At minus 50 degrees, the water froze inside the ground where my feet touched, causing ice shocks. Rukia's eyes were piercing, and Shunpo stood up. P*******K. Ice condensed on the ground again, turning into a world of ice and snow. At this time, Ace Not already felt the endless coldness. Minus 273.15 degrees. Absolute zero. Rukia stared at Ace and said, I have to act quickly, because at this temperature, my movement limit is limited to 4 seconds. Everything that touches will be frozen. She picked up Soda no Shirayuki, and slashed at him, the coldness of the blade approaching Ace Not. At this time, Ace Not was below absolute zero, and his actions slowed down a lot. There is no way to dodge this attack. Shua, clack. Ace Not's body was instantly frozen, turning into an ice sculpture. Such a spectacular scene made everyone's hearts tense. Even trembling all over, the absolute zero in the video seemed to affect them in reality. Minus 18 degrees, minus 50 degrees, I thought it was the limit, but I didn't expect there to be minus 273.15 degrees. Does this kind of temperature really exist? Tōshirō is surprisingly more statue-like than Ace Not. 50 degrees below zero can already be called an extremely cold temperature. Even for Shinigami, at this extremely low temperature, various ability attributes will decline. When the temperature reaches minus 270 degrees, there is no way to act in this environment. Can't even survive. As Rukia said, at this temperature, everything she touches will freeze. I'm afraid Soda no Shirayuki is the strongest ice-type Zanpakuto. Is it minus 273.15 degrees? Rukia herself couldn't believe that this ability was displayed by her. Although she is a caster, there is only a 4-second limit of movement in absolute zero. It can be seen how powerful this ability is. Yeah, it looks like Rukia will take away the title of Zanpakuto, the strongest ice element. After a short shock, Jingle looked at Tōshirō with a smile on his face. Xiaobai's Bankai's strongest ultimate move, Frozen Sky and 100 Flowers Burial, is just to freeze the opponent after more than 100 ice flowers are released. The temperature will definitely not reach absolute zero, not even minus 100 degrees. And Rukia can keep moving for 4 seconds in an environment of minus 273.15 degrees. Basically, for those 4 seconds, she is invincible. Which one is stronger and which one is weaker can be seen from Madara. Don't dare to be, dare not be, Captain Hitsugaya's Zanpakuto is the strongest ice and snow element, and my ability has restrictions. Rukia could see that her own absolute zero degree of damage to her was definitely not small. Seeing such a modest Rukia, Kira came out to say something fair. Although Rukia's absolute zero scene is very shocking, but she only has 4 seconds to act, and it is obviously impossible to cause large-scale damage, but the one-on-one ability absolutely top-notch. In a one-on-one battle, 4 seconds is enough to instantly kill the enemy. However, this ability is not suitable for protracted warfare, or group warfare. A team house. Yamamoto Genryuzai looked at the icy and snowy land in the picture, and a gleam flashed in his brows. As Yamamoto with the strongest Zanpakuto, seeing Rukia's absolute zero, he couldn't help but imagine what kind of scene it would be if his Ryujin Jaka faced absolute zero. The throne of the Void Knight Palace. Aizen stroked his chin with his right hand, leaned on the armrest of the throne, and smiled lightly. Rukia actually has this potential. It seems that Urahara Kazuki used her as a container to hide Hogyoku, which makes sense. Fortunately, he managed to take Hogyoku from Rukia, so that she had the opportunity to show such talent. Rukia, at the end of the day, you have to thank me. Invisible Empire. Ace Not looked flustered, and hesitated and said, impossible, even if all the molecules in the body have stopped, but in the environment of minus 273.15 degrees, she can't move at all. No matter what, it will be frozen into an ice sculpture. That's his ability, having 4 seconds of activity time, just like you have the control of fear. Halfward looked at Ace's hesitant face, and said indifferently. Yeah, I haven't used the holy body, so I'm going to be killed in seconds, so pitiful, Ace. Bambietta sneered. Ace was immediately annoyed. This kind of rubbish is forcing me to use up the Eucharist, it is unforgivable, unforgivable. In the video screen, Ace, frozen into an ice sculpture, is still conscious. He muttered to himself. Fear, in the process of being gradually frozen, what lingers in my mind is, the so-called fear. This was the first real fear that Ace not felt besides Yuhabach. He didn't expect that he, who controls the power of fear, would be created by others one day. And it comes from the heart, unparalleled fear. -198 degrees, -142 degrees, -116 degrees. Rukia transformed into an absolute zero body, and her body temperature began to rise slowly. This is the first time she has used her ability, and she also found that the longer it takes to release absolute zero, the greater the damage will be. What a headache. Rukia has the feeling of hurting 1,000 enemies and 800 losses to herself. -85 degrees, -67 degrees, the skills are not proficient enough, you need to continue to practice. Rukia murmured. When the temperature dropped to -14 degrees, a few drops of blood remained on her fingertips. She raised her hand and took a serious look, frowning. There are only 4 seconds, can't we go further? Just when Rukia thought he had eliminated his opponent and began to reflect on himself, a cold voice suddenly came from behind him. Fear, the power of fear, is this the only level? The ice on Ace Naught's body began to crack. No. This level is not considered fear at all, only, being reprimanded by His Majesty, only me being reprimanded by His Majesty, and my whole body being taken away, can scare me. Compared to this, I can't feel the fear and pain caused by the battle at all. Ace Naught's nail-shaped mask has been broken, and there is a mouth without lips under the mask. The teeth are exposed, and the bloody mouth makes people's scalp numb. At this time, it looks like a devil. God's cowardice. He flipped his eyeballs, turned 180 degrees, and the original black and white pupils turned into eyes with a star and cross icon. A Quincy pentagram-shaped halo with multiple spiked halos appears on the head, blood oozes under the eyes, the upper body is exposed, the chest is exposed, the arms are wearing black long gloves, and the white close-fitting robe is worn, but the body is sewn. The traces extend from the throat to the skirt of the lower body, and there are also 2 thorn-like ring-like wings of spiritual seeds on the back. This is Ace Naught's perfect body, the cowardly form of God. In this form, Ace greatly strengthens the power of fear, and Rukia feels attacked by fear again. Surprised, Rukia swung her knife and sprinted again. But Ace Naught seems to be faster, jumping behind Rukia in an instant. Rukia turned around and slashed again, as if a force pinched her arm, so no Shirayuki was unable to move forward even in front of Ace Naught. Your sword can't reach me, can it? Lao's voice sounded. Rukia didn't believe in evil, and started to attack again, but no matter whether he slashed left or right, he couldn't do any damage to him. It's useless, you can't reach it, because your feet are so weak that you can't move. Ace Naught said. Rukia froze for a moment, not knowing what he meant. Do you want to say that my body is occupied by fear? Impossible, my body. Before Rukia could finish speaking, Ace let out a strange smile. You have seen me, right? The cells in your body will stop when they are below freezing point, but the nerves will not stop. The nightmare of God penetrates fear into your body through the optic nerve. As Ace Naught said, a large number of grids appeared around him, and countless densely packed eyes opened in the grids. Such a horrific scene immediately made Rukia shudder. As this, Ace Naught's complete Eucharist. It's so disgusting. Rangaku outside the video complained. I thought Ace was wearing a mask because of his cleanliness, but the mask turned out to be a jawless mouth, disgusting. The appearance of the holy body is the most disgusting one among all the Quincy Masters that have ever appeared. It's even weaker than Peep's fat pig. Disgusting is one thing, this guy's ability after the Eucharist can be transmitted through nerves. Tōshirō couldn't believe it. Even though Rukia's body is now in a sub-zero state, the nerves are the key to controlling her actions, which are different from frozen molecular cells. Nerves cannot be frozen, so Rukia will feel the fear again. Perhaps this is Ace Naught's true power, the ultimate fear. Shu Bing swallowed 1.5. Facing such a powerful enemy, he was completely killed in seconds. Rukia's ability to sustain until now and force out the opponent's perfect holy body is already worthy of respect. And Ace, facing the fear of extreme cold, even claimed that he was not half as afraid as he was of Yuhabach. What a psychological shadow Yuhabach has brought to the Quincy. The ability has been restrained. Everyone, I may have to stop here. Chiya said apologetically. It's no big deal, hasn't Captain Jingle been defeated before, don't take it to heart. Nanao came over and patted Rukia's shoulder comfortingly. The corners of Jingle's mouth twitched when he heard it, but he still smiled and said, Shao Shishu, that's right. Rukia in the video is already surrounded by 360-degree eyes with no dead ends. She hastily closed her eyes. Ace stared at Rukia with white eyes. My eyes are everywhere, your nerves can't escape my sight, even if you close your eyes, it's useless, good memories will always stay in your heart, bad memories will stay in my heart forever. Just like fear emerges in the dark, as long as fear sees through your eyes, closing your eyes will only make the fear worse. Rukia's mind is full of images of Byakuya Kuchiki. Let the fear you have avoided so far burn your heart to death. Ace opened his mouth wide and let out a roar. But at this moment, a white knife shadow appeared instantly. In the next second, the net-shaped eyes were cut in two and then ruptured. Ace was a little confused, turned his head to look, and then his expression became ferocious. It's you. Byakuya Kuchiki. Chapter 62. Bankai Bakuya Penalty. Progressive Rukia. Seeking subscription. Saraiti, seeing his figure appear, Byakuya Kuchiki let out a long sigh of relief. Fortunately, he appeared in time, otherwise Rukia would be in danger. Facing Ace Not, who can create fear through the nervous system, he currently doesn't know how he will deal with it. While not being able to look into Ace's eyes is the key to solving the puzzle, the video self is unaware of this condition. Byakuya Kuchiki, you are a crazy sister-in-law, you came so fast. Zaraki Kenpachi sneered. Before, when facing Ace Not's fear, all he could think of was Rukia Kuchiki. In other words, Rukia is his weakness. Usually Byakuya Kuchiki is not obvious, even when Rukia was about to be executed, he did not intercede for him. That doesn't mean he's ruthless towards Rukia, it's just that he's just too rigid and takes the rules too seriously. Byakuya Kuchiki glanced at Zaraki Kenpachi coldly. Although he didn't speak, he seemed to be saying to Kenpachi, just meddle in your own business, right? Fortunately, my brother came in time, my ability is no longer the match of Ace Not. Rukia revealed with grateful eyes. No, Captain Kuchiki's Bankai was not taken by Ace Not, why didn't he use Senbon Sakura's Bankai to deal with Rukia? Shubing was puzzled. If the first time is to use Senbon Sakura Kageyoshi, it is estimated that Rukia will be killed in seconds. That guy doesn't deserve to use Captain Kuchiki's Bankai. Hira said indignantly. Rukia nodded in agreement. It's best not to, I don't want to see that disgusting guy use brother's Bankai. Meanwhile, Pai Palace. After Ace Not saw Byakuya Kuchiki appear, the corners of his eyes slightly curved, even though he was wearing a mask, he couldn't hide the smile on his face. Byakuya Kuchiki, you are finally here. His original target was Byakuya Kuchiki, and Rukia's appearance was just an accident. He and Byakuya Kuchiki are true love. Ace, you hurt Rukia Kuchiki, and you actually brought Byakuya Kuchiki out. It seems that Rukia is very important to Byakuya Kuchiki. I hope to see you kill Rukia first, and then torture Byakuya Kuchiki. Lidodo secretly smiled, a big slit opened at the corner of her mouth. Lidodo, I didn't expect you to be more perverted than me, but that's exactly what I meant. Ace Not laughed even more wildly, thinking that in my cowardly state, you Byakuya Kuchiki, you are still Byakuya without Bankai Kuchiki, what to win? In the video screen, Byakuya Kuchiki came out of nowhere. Wearing a white scarf and a long white gold-rimmed cloak, the brand new Siba costume is more handsome than usual. Rukia looked back, pupils constricted in shock. Senbon Sakura, the elder brother, actually cut off the fear. Ace Not became more excited while being shocked, his eyeballs rolled down, revealing half of his black pupils. It's great that you come. When he laughed, 2 rows of devil-like teeth came together, and bloody saliva still leaked from the corner of his mouth. I'm getting impatient, what's the matter, how about being gutted by me? When attacking Byakuya Kuchiki with Senbon Sakura Kageyoshi, while causing skin trauma, various internal organs were injured by the blade. If it wasn't for Izumi Tangwei Tianshiro's treatment, he would probably be dead by now. Byakuya Kuchiki looked indifferent. I pierced your stomach completely, because you can't eat, you must be hungry, right? Ace stared at Byakuya Kuchiki with dead fish eyes, and continued to taunt. You seem to lose weight, don't you? At this time, Rukia was shocked, she seemed to remember that Ace Not came to him to attract Byakuya Kuchiki. So she's a decoy. Brother, you can't look at this guy. Rukia Kuchiki yelled at Byakuya Kuchiki quickly, and once they looked at each other, Byakuya Kuchiki would also fall into fear. It's too late. Ace Not bared his teeth, and many omentum-shaped eyes appeared around him, floating up, staring densely at Byakuya Kuchiki. But at this moment, swish swish swish, countless ice thorns pierced the eyes, and the eyes fell directly to the ground. Who is the one who was too late? Byakuya Kuchiki said lightly. Ace Not suddenly realized, I see, you have already surrounded this place with this Sakura Jingyan, haven't you? That's great, sure enough I still want to keep your Bankai for myself. Bankai. Byakuya Kuchiki sneered. Since you snatched my Bankai from me, you should also know that Senbon Sakura Kageyoshi is a Bankai whose entire body is turned into a blade. This is Shikai, only Senbon Sakura. How is it possible? Ace Not's bloody eyes widened. Can't believe it at all, is this just Shikai's ability? This move by Byakuya Kuchiki not only shocked Ace Not, but also everyone in Saraiti. Shubing couldn't help but took a step forward, and looked at Byakuya in surprise. This is just Captain Kuchiki's Shikai, does it just surround this space? Byakuya Kuchiki didn't cheat Ace Not, did he? His Shikai Senbon Sakura has been seen by everyone present, but it has been produced on such a large scale that it has obviously reached the level of Bankai. Shikai's ability is comparable to that of Bankai. Byakuya Kuchiki not only restores his body, but also improves his strength a lot. Yeah, what a strong Kuchiki captain. Jingle Chunshui clapped his hands and continued, but what does Ace Not mean by wanting to take Captain Kuchiki's Bankai as his own? Hasn't he already absorbed Bankai? Jingle was puzzled, and at first, because Ace Not's urination would definitely use Senbon Sakura Kageyoshi against Rukia Kuchiki. As a result, He was almost killed by Rukia's absolute zero, and he didn't release Bankai until he entered the cowardly form of the holy body god. There is only one possibility, and that is that Ace Knot can't use Byakuya Kuchiki's Bankai. Captain Komamura also used Bankai when he was fighting Bambietta. It stands to reason that his Bankai has been taken away by Bambietta and cannot be used anymore. Could it be that the ability of the Quincy to absorb Bankai has been cracked? Tōshirō combined two cases and analyzed the road. Captain Nirvana must have developed it to decipher the ability of the opponent's star to absorb Bankai. Komamura Sajin turned to look at Kurotsuchi Mayuri. If not, even if he uses the humanization technique, he can't summon Bankai, the Black Rope Heaven's Scourge King Broken Armor Rope Clothes. That's natural. Kurotsuchi Mayuri laughed very sharply, and said complacently, I must have researched a way to crack it. Maybe it's Urahara Kazuki. Jingle Chunshui stroked the bamboo hat and smiled secretly. The smile on Kurotsuchi Mayuri's face disappeared instantly. How could it be that B******************** D? Did you see him when the Quincy attacked the Soul Society? He talked more and more vigorously. The potion I made successfully stopped Captain Hitsugaya, who turned into a zombie. Tōshirō silently glanced at Kurotsuchi Mayuri. Good guy, stop it. After giving myself a reagent, my throat was about to burst. I don't know if there are any side effects. Jingle Chunshui spread his hands and said, that's all I said, I definitely believe in Captain Ni. In the video screen, Byakuya Kuchiki took a step forward, as if stepping on Ace's heart, making his heart tighten. Because you took my Bankai, I had the opportunity to thoroughly explore the essence of Senbon Sakura. Bonds are like sketches, and only after they are separated will they reveal their true appearance, and this fact I put it forgotten. He has explored the essence of Senbon Sakura in Kilin Temple. Speaking of which, I also want to thank you, Ace Knot. Hearing Byakuya Kuchiki's words, Ace Knot felt a great insult, half of the black pupil rolled his eyes white, and the anger in his heart could no longer be suppressed. He swelled wildly, the needle seam in the middle of his body burst open, and blood sprayed out from it. Fragments of the body were also scattered all over the place. Don't kill, don't kill, don't kill, I will never kill you. Ace Knot repeated a sentence frantically. I want you to sink into the sea of pain and fear without losing consciousness or insanity. You will feel that death may be the greatest happiness, and you will be immersed in its army forever. As Ace Knot said, his body continued to swell, and the eyes that had been beheaded by Ace before were bursting with blood and flesh, and piled up towards Ace Knot's body. The big screen is filled with flesh and blood, and the surrounding has become a purgatory on Earth. Byakuya didn't care about Ace Knot's change at all. He turned his head to look at Rukia and said softly, on the way here, I have been feeling your Reiatsu, you have become stronger. Rukia. Hearing this, Rukia's eyes hesitated, but there was a little more determination. She closed her eyes abruptly, and the scenes with Byakuya Kuchiki came to mind. Brother said I became stronger. Not at all. Byakuya glanced at Rukia and continued. Fear is not produced by nothingness, but by the subtle uneasiness in the heart, which is continuously eroded. Do you still have fear? Rukia. Hearing Byakuya's words, Rukia immediately cheered up. No, no. No fear. During the conversation, voices like howling ghosts and wolves were heard. You're done, Byakuya Kuchiki. It was Ace Knot who spoke. But at this time, his body was nearly 10 meters tall, and a large amount of blood was sprayed out from the seam marks in the middle. Long hair can already cover a floor. This is the second form of Ace Knot's cowardice. Seeing this, the people outside the video couldn't hold back anymore. Damn it, what kind of monster is this? It swells into this flesh mud look. Monsters are completely demons, the Quincy of the Invisible Empire is really outrageous. I can't watch it anymore, the meal I ate yesterday will soon be brought out together. Quote. The Shinigami of Seraiti complained one after another, this is not a Quincy, it is even more terrifying than Shu. Fear does not come from the appearance, but from the heart. Do you feel scared when you see Ace Knot's appearance? Komamura Sajin turned to look at Shu Bing. The corner of Shu Bing's mouth twitched, and he slowly shook his head. No, not afraid. What about you 493? He asked Omeda again. Omeda broke out in cold sweat. Captain Komamura, fear is not fear, but a little disgusting, instigate. You idiot, spit it out and spit it out. Sui-Feng's disgusted voice came out immediately, and he quickly kept a distance from Omeda. Captain, don't leave me, I can't help it. Omeda bent over, swallowed and said. The rest of the Shinigami hurriedly kept a distance of 5 meters away from Omeda. I didn't expect that flesh and blood could be piled up like this, but Rukia. And Captain Kuchiki has no fear in his heart, Ace Knot is definitely not an opponent. Hana Retsu said, looking at Rukia with a smile. Also, Rukia, you have really become stronger. Rukia scratched her head shyly. Yes, is there? The Invisible Empire, the Palace of Ice. Nani, Ace, are you still in this state? Masco's eyes widened immediately, and he looked at Ace Knot. The perfect holy body of the Quincy Master can indeed change the form, but the second form of God's cowardice has changed too exaggeratedly. There are many things you don't know. Ace Knot said angrily, the second form of God's cowardice is his trump card. They will never use it unless necessary, so even if they are also group members of the Star-Crossed Knights, they don't know about it. I didn't expect to force out my form, Byakuya Kuchiki, I must torture you to death. In the video screen, looking at the second form of Ace Nott's cowardly god, Byakuya Kuchiki and Rukia looked indifferent, without any change. Is it over? But I'm sorry. Byakuya turned his head slightly. It's not me who will defeat you. What? Ace Nott's eyeballs floating in the eye sockets were almost shaken off, and he looked at Rukia who was holding the knife with his other eye. Seems to understand what Byakuya Kuchiki means. Let Rukia beat me. Ace Nott felt that he had suffered a huge insult, there must be a limit to doing stupid things. Byakuya ignored him, and instead said to Rukia, look carefully at Rukia, what is reflected in his posture is not any fear, if we are not afraid, it will reflect. It was his own timidity that came. Hearing this, Ace Nott became furious. With a loud roar, a stench emanated from his devilish mouth. Rukia closed her eyes slightly. Bankai. Bai Sha is punished. Chapter 63, 33 Baragan, The Real Death. Seeking subscription. Boom. A beam of light shot up into the sky. The dazzling beam of light seems to be overwhelming white. The entire ice palace was instantly covered with a layer of ice and snow, and bright waves of light appeared on the ground like giant waves. Not only that, but Ace Nott's huge body has also become an ice sculpture. Rukia jumped up, and the people raised their swords and fell. Swish. Soda no Shirayuki draws an extremely cold and dazzling knife light, and slashes towards Ace Nott's head. With a clicking sound, half of the ice sculpture's head was cut off directly, falling to the ground and smashed to pieces. At the same time, the arms and various parts of the body also fell into pieces of ice. I'm so scared, am I going to die, am I going to hell? Ace Nott still has a trace of consciousness, forgive me, your majesty. Don't be angry, I'm so scared, I'm afraid of pain, I'm afraid of pain. So scared, so scared, so scared. He died with a silent cry. It's ridiculous that the person who controls fear dies in ultimate fear. As Byakuya Kuchiki said, as long as there is no fear in the heart, the way Ace promises to exist is fear. In other words, from the beginning to the end, Ace Nott does not represent fear, but his inner weakness. Rukia fell to the ground in an instant, and an extremely cold breath spread around the circle. When she got up, she was already snow white, her hair and eyes were white, she was wearing an ice cap, and she was wearing a white dress down her body, with a bow-like streamer tied behind her back. At this time, she looks like an ice princess. The palace of the Invisible Empire. Ace Nott saw that he was punished by Bai Sha, his pupils shrank suddenly, and his whole body was trembling. Ace Nott once suffered from a very serious lung disease and relied on a ventilator to maintain his life. He never thought that breathing would be so painful, nor did he think that living would be so painful. He had felt the pain of ultimate, and it was Yuhabach who empowered him and brought him back to life. He was afraid afraid that Yuhabach would blame him. Afraid that Yuhabach will deprive him of his strength, deprive him of his whole body. Ace, besides being exaggerated, does your appearance serve any purpose? Giselle gave Ace Nott a disgusted look, and even made him a zombie in the second form of God's cowardice, and he felt disgusted. At this time, Ace was still in fear. He didn't hear Giselle's words at all, but murmured, impossible, I can't lose, your majesty, you have to believe me. Crazy one. Hasward shook his head helplessly, and at the same time admired the power of Rukia Kuchiki and Bankai, which is more terrifying than absolute zero. Saraiti. Rukia, this is your Bankai. So beautiful. Rangaku's colored contact lenses were shining brightly, looking eagerly at Rukia's ice beauty in the video. Even the hair and eyes became white and transparent. The most beautiful Zanpakuto must be paired with the most beautiful ice beauty. Not only is it beautiful, the Reiatsu produced by Rukia is also boundless, and the degree of extreme cold is no weaker than absolute zero. Jingle Chunshui glanced at the current Rukia intentionally. Rukia was a little shy, and smiled foolishly, is this my Bankai form? It's changed a lot, haha. Present world. Is that Rukia? What a change. Kurosaki Ichigo looked up, intentionally bringing his eyes closer to the big screen. Seeing this, Renji immediately put his face on it, and pressed Ichigo's head. Rukia's eyes and hair have changed, so beautiful. B***************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** Rukia's strength has far surpassed ours. Are you still concerned about whether Rukia has become more beautiful? Of course, with Rukia present, he would never say such words twice. However, Bai Shapu after Rukia Bankai has indeed far surpassed Renji and Ichigo in terms of strength. In the video screen, after Bai Shafei's slash fell, Soda no Shirayuki's knife was also covered with a layer of ice crystals. Rukia's arm holding the knife seemed to have turned into a block of ice, and the skin began to shatter. At the critical moment, Byakuya Kuchiki held Rukia's cold mob with his hand. Slowly release Bankai. Rukia, take your time. A gentle voice rang in Rukia's ear. Rukia sighed softly, and the cold air escaped from her mouth. The surrounding area has already turned into a world of ice and snow. What a wonderful Bankai. Byakuya Kuchiki looked at the surrounding icy place and said softly. Hearing this, Rukia's heart skipped a beat. However, this is also very difficult Bankai. If you make the slightest mistake, you will die. It is really dangerous Bankai. Byakuya let go of Rukia's arm, and continued. You must control it with your heart, and you must not be impatient. You can't protect anything with a knife that sacrifices your life. Rukia nodded and slowly lifted Bankai. At this time, Byakuya turned around slowly, and the white robe fluttered down. Let's go, Rukia, to protect the Soul Society. With bright eyes, Rukia replied. Yes, big brother. The video will end here. Saraiti. Thank you, brother Tianxia. Rukia silently walked to Byakuya Kuchiki and looked up. Without you, I might be deprived of my life by my own Bankai. Byakuya Kuchiki's expression didn't change, and he said calmly. You don't need to thank me, it's your own strength that you need to undo Bankai. That's what I said, but if he hadn't stabilized Rukia's mind, Rukia's body would have gradually withered and turned into a pile of ice as it did at the beginning. Stop pretending. People thank you for their kindness, and you still look like you don't answer. You deserve to be beaten. Zaraki Kenpachi interjected. You boy deserves a beating. When Rukia learns Bankai, you two will play together, and I will beat both of you. Kusajishi Yakiru spread his hands helplessly. Ajien, Rukia's Bankai is already very powerful. If you add Mr. Bai, you are probably no match. HMPH. Kenpachi grinned. Yachinryu, you just need to watch from the side. Jashiro looked at Rukia. Rukia's Bankai is very strong, but it does a lot of damage to the body, even beyond absolute zero. You'd better not release it until you master it. Well, Captain Jashiro, I know that. Rukia nodded. The captains looked at the picture of Rukia following Byakuya, and felt warm in their hearts. Soul Society, there is salvation. Rukia Kuchiki's name was suddenly engraved on the gold list of combat power. At the same time, the next list appeared on the big screen. Open black lens bracket the 33rd place in the power list. Baragan Lusenbairn close black lens bracket. Name. Baragan Lusenbairn. Faction. Espada. Identity. Arankar. Ability. Homing Blade. Ix. 88. Defense. 90. Speed. 86. 87. Vitality. 89. Reiatsu. 86. 700000. Espada Arankar. This result was not beyond everyone's expectations. Because both the third blade and the fourth blade are already on the list, there are two blades ahead of them. Appearing on the combat power list is a matter of course. But is it surprising that this Espada is ranked 33rd? If Baragan is next on the third edge, it may be easier to accept. However, the third blade, Holly Bell, is only ranked 38th, and there are so many people in the middle. I don't know if this Baragan is the second blade or the first blade, but it appears so far ahead. Toshirō frowned tightly. He couldn't accept this result at all. How could Arankar rank ahead of Rukia who learned the Bankai penalty? How capable is this Arankar? If you follow the order, then Baragan is the second blade. Rangaku said lightly. However, it is not ruled out that the abilities of the first two blades are almost the same, and the rankings may differ. Whether it is the first or the second blade, he is Aizen's subordinate, and the power he is given is absolutely beyond imagination. Kurotsuchi Mayuri stared hard. They can distrust Aizen, but they cannot disbelieve in the power of Hogyoku. Otherwise, it is impossible to appear on the leaderboard again after crossing so many people. Void Knight Palace. Baragan sat on the seat, his face unchanged, although he was not as comfortable as when he was the king of the virtual circle, but it was also satisfying to have the feeling of being inferior to one person under Aizen. Obviously, he had expected that he would appear on the combat power list. A ranking of 33 is not low. But for him, some look down upon. Is it the 33rd? It's ridiculous. He was the king of Hueco Mundo, how could the king be ranked 33? There's nothing absurd about it, it's nothing more than normal. Holly Bell said lightly. Stark is the strongest among us, I don't know how far he can be ranked. Aronilo was wearing a mask at this time, and looked curiously at Stark aside. Stark didn't seem to care, but Lillinette on the side said, Stark can be ranked within 20. At this time, the video has already started playing on the big screen. Karakura Town Battlefield. Sui-Feng and Omade are fighting Baragan. Sui-Feng's flying kick was easily avoided by Baragan. You know she is good at speed, but she hasn't hit yet. Omade's pupils exploded directly. Backquote, what is the origin of that bad old man? Not only is he powerful, but he is also fast enough to dodge the captain's attack. I am not his opponent at all. He spread his hands and it rotted directly. It's okay Omade, I don't expect you either, just stay aside. Sui-Feng said indifferently, she thought Omade would only get in the way. Don't look down on people, I can hit a few times. Omade waved his hand awkwardly. He said so in his mouth, but in his heart he was super scared. Sui-Feng didn't stop, she wanted to continue to test Legang's strength. Walking in the air, when approaching Baragan, Sui-Feng jumped behind him and kicked again. But every time she was about to hit the opponent, she felt that the speed of the kick slowed down rapidly. Sure enough, Baragan stretched out his hand and grabbed Sui-Feng's ankle directly. He turned his arm around a few times to charge up and then slammed it down. Sui-Feng fell down like a windmill after charging up. Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. Sui-Feng fell to the roof, making a huge hole. Soon, she broke away from it, and Omeda hurried forward. Captain, it's all right. Sui-Feng complained. What's the noise? It's okay, don't bring your sullen face closer. To make complaints about it, she felt bad. When attacking Baragan, it was different from being slowed down by Reiatsu, but her own movements were slowed down. It even made Sui-Feng think for a while that Baragan was manipulating gravity. Baragan is that old man, so old, the speed is so. Still so strong. Omeda outside the video twitched his mouth in shock, and turned to look at Sui-Feng. But Captain, I will not abandon you. It's embarrassing enough to be just 1 year old. Don't let others look down on you anymore. If you are here, you will only do me a disservice and make me tiptoe, understand? Sui-Feng glared at Omeda. Rangaku's eyes flashed with worry, and he said, is Captain Sui-Feng really the old man's opponent? You know, Baragan is still in a normal state, and he didn't return the blade, so he easily dodged the attack of the Broken King's Bee. In terms of speed, the leader of the stealth mobile team. Sui-Feng, Wanfen is not dominant. I just tried it briefly, and I didn't use my full strength. Sui-Feng snorted coldly. That's what she said, but she knew in her heart that Baragan was a tough opponent. Void Knight Palace. It's really boring to meet such a weak opponent. Baragan shook his head helplessly. At least a Rukia from Absolute Zero, a decent opponent. On the one hand, Sui-Feng speculates that Baragan is manipulating gravity, and on the other hand, he speculates that he may be directly applying force to muscle tissue or nerve tissue. Looking at the confused Sui-Feng, Baragan said, I can't see my ability, can't judge, are you confused? Espada is in charge of various death forms respectively. It is not only Espada's own thoughts and reasons for existence, but also corresponds to its ability sometimes. The death form I control is aging. Aging is time, the strongest and most absolute, invincible death ability. Baragan raised his hand, and the next moment, his palm touched Sui-Feng's shoulder. When did he go behind him in an instant? Sui-Feng didn't notice Chi at all. When, after spotting Baragan's figure, Sui-Feng and Omeda quickly dodged away. Touching consciously like this can make your bones old. Baragan glanced faintly at Sui-Feng who was dodging away at the far end. Sui-Feng sensed something was wrong, the arm touched by Baragan just now was broken. I can't understand it. The so-called death is such a thing, and then, before the end of the battle, everything that happens will be beyond your comprehension. 11. Baragan raised the giant axe in his hand, stared at Sui-Feng viciously, and made a Shinigami-like voice. You can go to die. Chapter 64. Emperor Skull, Yuhabach is moved. Seeking subscription. At this time, Sui-Feng's arm was seriously injured, and it was difficult to dodge Baragan's attack. But just as Baragan was about to swing his axe down, he suddenly noticed a meteor hammer coming from a distance. Small tricks. Baragan unhurriedly moved the axe to his side, and Omeda's Zanpakuto 5-shaped head hit the axe and was immediately bounced off. Your opponent still has me, old man. Omeda was sweating coldly. Although he was flustered, he couldn't lose his momentum. Oh, your adjutant's tone is not small. Baragan didn't take Omeda seriously at all, and continued, but what you say is not convincing. Stop talking. Omeda growled again. Naturally, he didn't want to waste his saliva with Baragan, and he was tricked when he didn't know when. He hurriedly looked at Sui-Feng and said, Captain, let me cover the rear. Saraiti. Captain, if I hadn't made the move, you would have suffered a lot. Omeda laughed. This time it finally helped. Vice Captain Omeda, you did a great job. Shu Bing praised again and again. Kira gave a thumbs up to Omeda. Baragan's ability is outstanding. If you all attack from the front, you will both be hit hard. Vice Captain Omeda's cover from the rear may have a miraculous effect. But Sui-Feng didn't appreciate it, and glared at Omeda angrily. I don't know what you are thinking. Cover from behind, don't you just don't want to fight head on, and then protect yourself? The strength of your opponent, do you think you can protect yourself? Captain, Omeda's small thoughts were directly exposed by Sui-Feng, making him a little embarrassed. Bad intentions are guessed, and face is lost again. In the video screen. Sure enough, Sui-Feng disliked Omeda's tactics very much. Not only did Omeda not have the ability to cover, but it could also make her face the enemy. 327. Facing Sui-Feng's cynicism, Omeda yelled with some embarrassment. If you don't hurt people like you, I will do this, so that you will impress me. Saying that, he Shunpo went to Sui-Feng's side, and said with strength, I'm also the vice captain of the second team. Yes, then I have a plan. Sui-Feng's face was calm, she was analyzing Baragan's ability, as long as he consciously touches it, he can age the bones. Then they split into two groups, and Yeel touched. Only by attacking in two directions can it be possible to create offensive opportunities. Omeda, cover me, even if something goes wrong, don't disturb me. Sui-Feng ordered. Omeda held up the 5-shaped head, looking a little flustered. Got it. As the battle meeting over, can you make me have a little fun? Baragan looked down at the two people below. At this time, Omeda had already started to attack, but whenever Baragan raised his hand to touch him, he would pull away instantly. Baragan knew Omeda's intentions. He raised his axe and looked down. Let the adjutant be the bait. The captain intends to kill me. Do you think I can't see through this trick? With one swing of the axe, the Sui-Feng below was directly cut in half, and disappeared into bubbles. This guy is the real Sui-Feng, just a smoke bomb thrown to create opportunities for Omeda. While Baragan was in a daze, Omeda came over in an instant, but when he was about to attack the opponent with the five-shaped head, he saw Baragan's extended palm, and instantly thought that the bones would age if touched by it. He didn't want to suffer like this. FJ quickly turned around and fled like a street mouse. An excellent opportunity was wasted by him. Sui-Feng outside the video is already exhaling, praising Omeda as a little angel. Vice Captain Omeda, you are too embarrassed to escape. If you seize such a good opportunity, you might hit Baragan hard. Rangaku pursed his lips, expressing helplessness. The chances created by Sui-Feng were good enough, but if it were someone else, Baragan would have been bleeding. But Omeda was scared to pee. What an insult to Shinigami's post. Ahem. Omeda covered her mouth and coughed twice to hide her embarrassment. One thing to say, Omeda is quite flexible. Jingle Chunshui joked that he is a flexible fat man. Omeda. Void Knight Palace. Can this kind of person be a Shinigami? Baragan shook his head. Fighting against such an opponent would only kill his fighting spirit. Very boring. In the video, Sui-Feng saw Omeda running away, and was just about to complain when he found an obvious touch on his left shoulder. Turning his head, he found that Baragan was already standing behind him. Vulnerable. Baragan snorted coldly. Sui-Feng's left arm was broken in an instant, and he fell from a height and fell to the upper floor. I wanted the adjutant to take the last blow, so it was a very clever plan, but that guy didn't seem to want to die yet. Baragan glanced at Omeda, who was clinging to the telephone pole, and continued, if you can go all out, maybe you can do something. Captain, I'm sorry. Omeda apologized with his arm around the pole. Stupid is stupid because I shouldn't have even the slightest expectation of you. Get out, run as far as you can. Sui-Feng clutched his left shoulder and jumped up instantly. After another unsuccessful attempt to attack Baragan, she changed tactics. Landed on the ground and shuttled between the cracks of the floors, trying to make Baragan lose his vision, and then launch a surprise attack. But it is very difficult to hit him. Instead, he was struck by Baragan's axe and fell heavily to the ground. Baragan raised the axe again, and at the critical moment, Omeda blocked the attack with a five-shaped head. Didn't you run away? Sui-Feng was a little surprised. Are you kidding me? I'm the vice captain of the second team. Even if you drive me away, it's still my duty to assist you. Omeda was panting. Outside the video, Omeda got angry. I am the vice captain of the second team, and it is absolutely impossible to abandon the captain. Sui-Feng rolled his eyes at him, and said sharply, don't let me see that sullen face of yours. Omeda's vice captain is a bit timid, but he is very affectionate and righteous. Kira said. Return to the screen. Seeing Omeda dare to face the confrontation, Baragan was immediately interested. At least not afraid of death. However, it's time for the farce to end. Baragan held the axe upside down, and said in a deep voice, tremble as much as you want, and rot, Skull King. The eye-like red gemstone in the center of the axe blade immediately exudes an extremely dazzling scarlet color. At the same time, endless black-purple Reiatsu is produced. Reiatsu wraps Baragan all over. Soon, a golden crown emerged from Reiatsu, and under the crown, there was a face of a skeleton. Baragan is dressed in a purple robe and covered in black flames. This is the form of the Skull King after his sword is released and returned to the blade. Feeling such a weird Reiatsu, Sui-Feng's face twitched, and cold sweat flowed out. She couldn't believe that this form actually existed. With every step Baragan takes, everything he touches becomes nothingness. Seeing such a shocking scene, everyone outside the video was stunned. Present world. Is this the form of Baragan after returning to the blade? It turned into a skeleton. Kurosaki Ichigo's eyes narrowed suddenly, obviously beyond his imagination. Renji also tensed up. Is it scary to this extent? Sarai T. The Skull Emperor turned out to be a white bone, and the roof he stepped on had aged and collapsed. What kind of ability is this? Tōshirō looked at the other captains in a panic. Even the lifeless roof can age, isn't the ability too outrageous? If I'm not mistaken, Baragan's aging is equivalent to controlling time. Once the time is modified for anything he touches, it will of course be aged. Kurotsuchi Mayuri analyzed enthusiastically. This kind of ability makes him very happy. Isn't there one more thing that can be studied? Looking at it this way, it seems that Ulquiorra's second stage return blade is not that powerful anymore. Sui-Feng said calmly with his eyes narrowed. Although she didn't know what the death form controlled by Ulquiorra was, in the face of almost incomprehensible aging, the Black Wing Demon was not so strong. Jashiro nodded in agreement. That's right, the Skull Emperor is indeed more powerful than the Black Wing Demon. Hueco Mundo, Void Knight Palace. Baragan looked at Stark and Holly Bell with contempt. Also, let them feel the fear of aging. Stark didn't speak, but Holly Bell said disdainfully, is it just a matter of defeating this kind of opponent? It's ridiculous. Baragan snorted coldly. I just want to get rid of the opponent as soon as possible, and you, in front of the aging under my control, are just a bunch of garbage. Neutra and Grimjow dared not speak out. What Baragan said is correct. In the face of aging, the abilities they have mastered are indeed somewhat weak. The Invisible Empire, on Tianzuo. Yuhabach looked at the Skull King in the video with great interest. Is there any Arrancar with this ability? It's really interesting. He even had an urge to bring Baragan under his wing. People with this ability are Aizen's subordinates. Then Aizen Sosuke, what is your true strength? Chapter 65, Jakuho Reikoben, Bankai Damage Top 1. Seeking subscription. In the video screen, Sui-Feng and Omeda looked at the Skull Emperor who had returned to the sword, feeling appalled. Didn't I just say that I control the aging ability, and everything will age and die from me? Baragan raised his arm, stretching out the bone claw. Omeda frowned, and rushed forward with the five-shaped head. Do you want to die, Omeda? Seeing that Omeda was so reckless, Sui-Feng stepped forward and kicked him away, and shouted at him, B****************, D, you are no match for him at all. And you too, Captain. Baragan stared at Sui-Feng with empty eyes, and said in a deep voice, die, breath of death. Swish. A strong black-purple aura quickly spread from his side, chasing towards Sui-Feng. Seeing this, Sui-Feng ran away immediately, but his speed was still a bit slower, his left hand was eroded by the black breath, and the next moment, the flesh and blood on his fingertips gradually faded away, revealing a pair of bones. Sui-Feng looked at the flesh and blood gradually fading from his arm, with an extremely flustered expression. She dragged her arms, screaming in pain. Omeda, cut off my arm. Sui-Feng immediately shouted towards Omeda not far away. Her Zanpakuto Suzumaki, which is a small blade worn on her finger like a wasp stinger, does not have the ability to cut off an arm, so she can only seek Omeda's help. Omeda froze in place, a little helpless. Quick, are you trying to kill me, Omeda? Seeing that Omeda was indifferent, Sui-Feng roared again. Only then did Omeda undo Shikai with the five-shaped head, transform into Zanpakuto and cut off the arm affected by aging directly. The left arm that fell to the ground was already covered in bones. After a short aging time, even the bones turned into dust and disappeared with the wind. Saraiti, team, captain. Omeda looked at Sui-Feng with some shame. Although cutting off his arm was to save Sui-Feng, but after all, he cut it off by himself, and he felt a little sorry. You don't have to blame yourself. If I don't cut off my arm in time, I'm afraid my whole body will be aged. Sui-Feng said lightly. At this time, she frowned, thinking that she had encountered such a difficult opponent. If it's Sanin Holly Bell, she won't complain. Although Holly Bell is also very strong, but her attack method is water flow, at least she has a way to deal with it. Facing Baragan, who has the ability to be aged when affected by the black mist, Sui-Feng can't think of a way to deal with him. Yeah, it's really hard to deal with. The original Baragan can only be aged by conscious contact, but after returning to the blade, the Reiatsu emitted by him has the ability to age. It's so tricky. Jingle Chunshui supported the bamboo hat and shook his head gently. Even he couldn't think of a way to deal with Baragan. How can you fight like this? There is no way to get close to Baragan. Shu Bing couldn't help but feel worried for Sui-Feng. If there was any mistake, he might die. If you can't get close, you can't cut directly. What kind of ability is it? I don't want to fight with such an opponent. It's so boring. Zaraki Kenpachi shook his head infrequently, and the words, I don't want to fight, came out of his mouth, which was somewhat surprising. But if you think about it carefully, even Zaraki Kenpachi, a fighting fanatic, doesn't want to face an opponent who would want to face it. Sui-Feng calmed down. Since we can't face the attack directly, we have to think of other ways. In the video screen, Baragan looked at the flustered Sui-Feng, and sneered, it's ridiculous, so Shinigami are also afraid of death. And the buildings around him have all been aged and collapsed, and he is alone in the air, like a god of destruction, exuding the breath of death. Omeda said with emotion that he has seen all kinds of guys so far, but they are all young people. He even felt that Baragan was more powerful than Aizen. Inaccessible, sacrosanct. Don't talk about defeating him, there is no way to start. Obviously he didn't know that Baragan's aging ability was given to him by Aizen. When he was the king of Hueco Mundo, he didn't have aging ability. Even Aizen can kill Baragan directly. But compared to this, the worst thing now is Sui-Feng, she has been completely cornered. That is, his attack cannot be dodged by anyone in Gote 13. Omeda speculated. Suddenly, Sui-Feng called him. Omeda, I remember you said that you were responsible for assisting me, right? Yeah, because the captain and I worked together, and the regiment killed him. Really? Then you go to fight. No problem. Omeda vowed, but suddenly sensed something was wrong. The corner of her mouth twitched and looked at Sui-Feng. Ah, what did you say? After Sui-Feng confessed, he left directly. Although Omeda was unwilling in every possible way, he yelled and no one came to rescue him. Forced to do so, Omeda beat and ran, intending to delay time. The old man's ability, time is equivalent to nothingness, even it can control, is the old man's death form, the fear of aging, you should taste it, the breath of death is powerful. Not wanting to entangle with Omeda for too long, Baragan let out a long sigh, followed by a black breath from his mouth, and chased after Omeda. The breath of death has a tracking effect, so Omeda can only run away desperately. Why isn't my Zanpakuto the Kido type that freezes and sets fire? Yes, Kido, you can use Kido to fight, I have already seen through your fate. Suddenly he thought of attacking with Kido. 21 of Bakudo, red smoke. He stretched out his hands, and thick red smoke radiated from his side instantly. But he was P********* D enough, he had never used Kido at all, this time it was good, the tone was too loud, and it almost annoyed Baragan. Sarai T. Bakudo 21, are you in such a mess, what an idiot. Sui-Feng scolded Omeda angrily. But Omeda can think of using Kido to deal with Baragan's death breath, which is already good. Zanpakuto is likely to be aged too, so using Kido to attack is the best choice. Captain Sui-Feng, you can also try Kido. Shu Bing said. Let's not say whether Kido is useful to Baragan, but Sui-Feng knows in his heart that the self in the video is preparing for Bankai. In the video screen, Omeda is attracting Baragan's attention, and Sui-Feng has tied the silver bars back to a building in the dark. The silver bar is used as the steel belt on the base of the armor. When Sui-Feng activates Bankai, the silver bar is equipped to prevent himself from being hurt by the reaction force brought by Bankai. This makes her Bankai somewhat bulky. As the commander-in-chief of stealth maneuvers, Bankai is so huge, heavy and dazzling that he can't hide it at all, which violates the dignity of stealth maneuvers. So generally she will not use it unless it is absolutely necessary. Apparently, it's an imperative now. Over there, Baragan looked at Omeda who was still running away, and murmured, it seems that if you continue to let you run away, other snakes will not come out of their holes. He stretched out his arm, and a huge black double-edged axe wrapped with a golden chain appeared in his hand. The axe of death. It's cheap for you to die under its hands. Corruption, until death. Just as Baragan was about to swing his axe down, a strong Reiatsu burst into the sky. Bankai. Jakuho Reikoben. Sui-Feng dragged a huge missile like the tail of a queen bee onto it. Is that the so-called Bankai? Baragan was interested. Omeda looked nervously at Sui-Feng, and it was also the first time he saw Sui-Feng's Bankai. But how to fight Bankai with this shape? Carefully, he found the silver bars wrapped around Sui-Feng's body, which made him even more puzzled. What do you do with such a heavy thing tied to your body? The captains outside the video are also very surprised, it is not the first time for them to see Sui-Feng use Bankai. Captain Sui-Feng, is this your Bankai? It doesn't seem to have any effect. Tōshirō glanced at Sui-Feng. And not as light as he imagined, Bankai. With such a cumbersome ability, is it really Bankai, the captain of the second team? Don't look if you can't see it. Sui-Feng said angrily, her Bankai was the most difficult thing for her to sell. Captain Sui-Feng's Bankai is heavy, but it looks powerful. Jingle Chunshui stepped forward to smooth things over. Urahara store. Yoruichi looked at Sui-Feng's Bankai, and smiled lightly, thinking that it's no wonder that guy never released Bankai, that's why. In the video screen, Sui-Feng looked at Baragan at the far end, and said solemnly, at first, I didn't want to use Bankai to end this battle, because my Bankai violated my instruction of stealth maneuvering, its form is too big and there is nowhere to hide, too heavy to move as desired. And the attack. Saying this, she lifted Jakuho Reikoben over her shoulders and aimed it at Baragan. As far as assassination is concerned, it's too pompous. Swish. The tail of Jakuho Reikoben rushed out of the torrent of flames, and the fiery wave of the Japanese stock market swept across in an instant. Die. Jakuho Reikoben shot straight out of the launch pad, made a continuous circle in the air, and rushed towards Baragan. The huge impact caused Sui-Feng's feet to sink directly into the roof, even so her body was thrown back tens of meters. Boom. An explosion that could pierce the eardrum spread out with an extremely dazzling light. 0. Ask for flowers. The flames almost covered half of the sky, and the sharp shock made everyone present feel incredible. Omeda, who was closer, was blown away by the shock wave, and after Sui-Feng was blown away, the extremely hard silver bar straightened and broke. When she was about to crash into a tall building, Omeda rushed over and protected her as a meat pad. Nani, it turned out to be a missile, the lethality is too terrifying. Outside the video, Rangaku's eyes were staring like copper bells, and cold sweat was streaming down his face. An explosion of this scale, among all the captains present except Sui-Feng, no one can guarantee that it can be produced. In other words, if you are under artillery fire, all captains will be killed. This Captain Sui-Feng's Bankai. Although the release conditions are a bit harsh, the lethality is too outrageous. Komamura Sajin was startled, and was already overwhelmed by Sui-Feng's Jakuho Reikoben. Even if his black rope heavenly scourge Mingwang bears a shell, it will definitely be pierced through the chest, and it will never be able to recover. Captain, your Bankai's lethality is top 1. Omeda looked at Sui-Feng in shock. Sui-Feng snorted coldly, With the captain here, how can I dare to be called top 1? The throne of the Void Knight Palace. Aizen rested his chin, slightly shaken by Jakuho Reikoben's explosion. In terms of single-round destructive power, Sui-Feng's Bankai can indeed rank in the forefront of Bankai. He smiled softly. Such a powerful Bankai, how many times can you release it, Captain Sui-Feng? Damn you, Baragan. Grimmjow found a breakthrough, sneered and mocked. To be hit by such a bulky Bankai is ridiculous. 0. Baragan glanced at Grimmjow with his remaining eye. You don't think I'm defeated, do you? In the video screen, with a roar from Wanda Wise, the thick smoke after the explosion was blown away. Baragan emerged from the smoke intact. Sui-Feng panicked suddenly, and the corner of his mouth twitched and whispered, impossible, absolutely impossible. Withstood the explosion of Jakuho Reikoben and still survived the explosion. What the hell is this monster? No. All right, how is it possible that Jakuho Reikoben, who is so lethal, didn't kill Baragan? Sui-Feng took a step back, almost losing his footing. Let alone kill Baragan, at least do some damage to it. But Baragan was unaffected. Byakuya Kuchiki analyzed. When Captain Sui-Feng attacked Baragan, his movements were slowed down. In the same way, when Jakuho Reikoben was approaching the Sigh of Death, his speed was slowed down. Slowed down, coupled with aging, the power will be greatly weakened, which may be the reason why Baragan was not defeated. It can only be attributed to this reason. Sui-Feng shook his head helplessly. This kind of pure direct damage can't hurt Baragan, so with her Kido level, it doesn't seem to be able to threaten it. Void Knight Palace, Baragan looked at the other Espada's frowns, and said, is this level of attack like defeating me who has the strongest death form? Perhaps the battle has already ended. Quote. Grimmjow had the worst expression on his face. Although he didn't want to accept it, it was already a fact that Sui-Feng's attack was ineffective. In the video screen, seeing Baragan walk out from the smoke, Sui-Feng had a grim face, and there was nothing he could do. But at this moment, a man in a green suit and pink hair came in an instant. Omeda was surprised. Who is this big and amazing uncle? And he is not ordinary. He had seen Hachigen release Kido before, and he recognized its strength. Hachigen turned his head to look at Sui-Feng. Long time no see, Miss Sui-Feng. It's the captain's old acquaintance. I should have said it earlier, it's true. Omeda complained. Who the hell is he? Sui-Feng punched the chattering Omeda on the face, with a solemn expression. I don't know, I haven't seen it before. I knew you would say that. After all, you don't think of us often. Hachigen closed his eyes slightly, showing helplessness. He was the deputy Kido chief of the Kido, and met Sui-Feng before being framed by Aizen. But because he was dealing with Urahara Kazuki, and Urahara Kazuki was the culprit who abducted Yoruichi, Sui-Feng naturally didn't want to talk to him. It doesn't matter who you are or what power you have, everything is equal before this old man. Baragan looked at Hachigen and continued. You two will be wiped out in front of this old man. He opened his arms and continued to exude the breath of death. But at this moment, Hachigen clapped his hands. Six-party formation. B. Chapter 66, Kido's second person, Urahara Kazuki scolds her mother. Seeking subscription. Six-party formation. Green light emanates from Hachigen's palm, and gathers like cube crystal blocks. At the same time, Baragan's body was also wrapped in a green columnar enchantment. Kido, I've seen your ability to age the objects you touch, so I'm here, as long as any power can't be touched, it's nothing to be afraid of. Hachigen looked indifferent, not afraid of the opponent's aging ability at all. He is a member of Vizard, does he also have something to do with Soul Society? Tōshirō was surprised, he had never seen this kind of Kido. But he can tell that Hachigen is a Kido master. Is there a Kita? He is the deputy Kido chief of the original Kido public. Jashiro explained. It is also because of the investigation of Hollow that he was infected with Hollow and escaped to the present world with Hiroko Shinji. It turned out to be the deputy Kido, no wonder I can use a Kido that I have never seen before. Omeda exclaimed in surprise. Sui-Feng's face was full of disgust, and he didn't even want to hear this person's name. Yoruichi is everything to her, and that's how she treats Urahara Kazuki's companions. Omeda's vice captain is not good at Kido, but the former vice captain of Kido has appeared, and he can definitely defeat Baragan. Kira said excitedly. Kido attacks, unlike Zanpakuto's direct attacks, count as magic damage. Only magic can defeat magic. Vizard. Hachigen expected that Sui-Feng would deny him, and of course he accepted the result. Kido should be able to deal with Baragan, I'll leave it to you, Bagan. Hiroko patted Hachigen on the shoulder, cheering him on. Hachigen nodded. Don't worry, wrap it on me. In the video screen. Watching Hachigen make a six-way seal, Omeda clenched his fists excitedly. Excellent, this uncle is really not someone to wait for. But soon, Baragan raised his paw and said in a deep voice, I see. At the next moment of 150, the walls of the six-party formation were directly eroded and decayed, turning into fragments and dissipating. Hachigen's pupils shrank suddenly. The six-party formation is to create six green columnar barriers pointing to the east, west, south, north, sky, and earth respectively, and encircle the opponent. The sealing ability is outstanding, but it was easily resolved by Ligang. It's ridiculous. Humans, birds, beasts, plants, and Shinigami's numerology are all inevitable to die. When there is death, there is also old age. Baragan said, and the barriers had all disappeared. Creations in the world are mortal, and the Kido created by Shinigami is no exception. It is not ruled out that some Kido will last for thousands of years, but there is absolutely no Kido that can last forever. In the final analysis, the word, eternal, is just a wishful thinking caused by fear of death. Run away, Captain Sui-Feng. Omeda looked down at the sweaty Sui-Feng. They can't win with just a few of them. But before he finished speaking, Sui-Feng's fist hit him. It's so noisy, shut up. Over there, Baragan came from nowhere. He didn't want to entangle for too long, so he said impatiently, I'm too lazy to continue playing around with you ants, it's time to end. Come on, destroy it. He waved his arms, and the purple robes burning with black flames shook violently, and a large amount of death breath rushed towards his face like a hunting lion majesty. Hachigen stepped forward immediately, with his arms outstretched in front of his chest. A green light blade instantly emerged from the palm, and turned into multiple stone walls in a very short time. The stone walls are arranged one after another to form a wall to resist the invasion of the breath of death. But the power of decay is not something that walls can resist. The stone walls began to crack and disintegrate. Urahara store. Tessai Tsukubishi watched the breath of death tore through Kido's defenses, a look of worry flashed in his eyes. He is the Kido leader of the original Kido congregation. He is extremely powerful and can release Bakudo 99 and time stop forbidden technique. You must know that Aizen can't release the forbidden technique of the time static class. Although Hachigen is his subordinate, Hachigen's attainments in Kido have not widened the gap with him. Even Bagan's Kido can't deal with Baragan, what a waste of brain. Tessai Tsukubishi was quite helpless and even wanted to play against Baragan himself. Return to the screen. The oppressive force displayed by Baragan made Hachigen feel terrified, and his brows trembled constantly. He clapped his hands. Start singing. The army is 8 inches, there is no reason to retreat, the blue bar, the white bar, the black door, the red bar, bite each other and sink into the sea. Are you going to chant later? Baragan saw the other party's intentions. It's clever to strengthen the enchantment after casting the spell by abandoning the chant, but it's too late. Dragon Tail's city gate. Hachigen raised his hands, and the stone pillars began to move, and they piled up to form a huge city gate. The two sides were separated by the city gate. Miss Sui-Feng, please help me. On the side of the city gate, Hachigen turned his head to look at Sui-Feng, and begged, I need your Bankai power. Sui-Feng deliberately avoided eyes, and murmured, do you even know the power of my Bankai? That man is really annoying. The hot guy in her mouth is Urahara Kazuki. I know that you don't want to join forces with us who are related to Urahara's store manager, but you must also know what's going on now. If there is a stalemate, Baragan's breath of death breaks through the city gate, and they will be in danger. Are the 4 beasts blocking the gate? Jingle Chunshui outside the video side, this is one of the strongest sealing barriers in Special Kido. Hachigen was able to unleash, as he had expected. With this trick, there might be a chance to seal the post. The so-called gates of the 4 beasts are the gates of the dragon's tail, the gates of the tiger's bite, the gates of the tortoise armor, and the gates of the phoenix wings, a 4-way barrier built together. Looking at the bewildered eyes of Tōshirō and others, Jashiro explained. Although he knew this trick, he had never seen it with his own eyes. The gate of the 4 beasts, Hachigen only released the gate of the dragon tail, that is to say, Kido has not been fully released. Rangaku sighed, the gate of the dragon tail alone is already large enough, if the entire 4-way barrier is constructed come out, it will not be difficult to seal Baragan. Of course, the seal is only a temporary seal. As Baragan said, the Kido created by the Shinigami cannot last forever. No matter how powerful the sealing techniques are, the results of being aged cannot be changed. I seem to be able to guess the reason why Hachigen seeks the help of Captain Sui-Feng. He wants to temporarily trap Baragan with the 4-beast gate, and then cooperate with Captain Sui-Feng's Bankai to kill him instantly. Tōshirō understood Hachigen's intentions. Captain, don't worry about these grievances anymore, get rid of that old man first. Omeda's fat face was facing Sui-Feng, and he could tell that Sui-Feng in the video was reluctant to help. You don't need to talk nonsense. Sui-Feng glanced at him angrily. Void Knight Palace. Baragan chuckled. Such a weak opponent, even if they join forces, what waves can they create? It's nothing more than making the ripples last longer. And this time in the video. Seeing that Sui-Feng refused to agree, Hachigen said at the beginning, okay, I will make an exchange. Sui-Feng's expression moved slightly. Baragan, on the other hand, shrugs off the gimmick. Boring, bluff to buy time, huh. Decompose. As soon as he raised his hand, he noticed some movement around him. Turning his head and looking around, a brand new barrier appeared around him. The gate of the tiger bite. Hachigen gestured, and a large shield emerged. The gate of the turtle armor, the gate of the phoenix wing. After the shield in the shape of a tortoise shell emerged, a red ring-shaped door plug appeared above Baragan, and slowly descended countless walls. Four Beasts Plug Gate. With the sound of Hachigen falling, the formation of the four directions is completed. This move consumed Hachigen a lot of Reiatsu, and he was panting from exhaustion. However, Baragan, who was in the enchantment, gave out an extremely crazy smile. Ha 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 ha. When he laughed, he shook his body crazily. It's ridiculous, you want to seal this old man with this kind of thing. It's a fool's dream. You really want to buy some time, right? No, trying to win time from the old man who is in charge of aging is tantamount to seeking death, but it is worth encouraging the weak to do this. Baragan rested his bony claws on the skull, smug. Hachigen said lightly, this enchantment is not used to seal you. Huh, Nani. Baragan was taken aback suddenly. You used the decrease ability on Captain Sui-Feng's Bankai, causing it to explode and spread the blast, avoiding damage. Hachigen put his index finger upright in front of him. It's so close that your aging ability can't be caught off guard by the blast. What would happen if you ate it? At this time, Tiger Bite's city gate opened from the middle, and Sui-Feng had already used Bankai, aiming at Baragan in the barrier. Sui-Feng looked at Hachigen, and said sharply, I swear again, I will lock Urahara Kazuki in your barrier for a month from tomorrow. Without further ado, Hachigen swore directly. Urahara Kazuki, who was outside the video, twitched the corner of her mouth immediately after seeing this scene. Good guy, it turned out to be this condition. Lock yourself in Hachigen's barrier for a month. How did Sui-Feng come up with such a pervert condition? Ha ha ha. Sui-Feng is too funny. Kazuki, are you really going to stay in Bagan's barrier for a month? Yoruichi laughed and looked at Urahara Kazuki expectantly. Kazuki pressed down the checkered hat, and casually said, that guy Sui-Feng is delusional, who wants to enter Bokushuan's barrier. I can't crack it like Baragan. But Bo-Zan has sworn to agree to Sui-Feng, you can't let him be a person who doesn't keep his word, can you? Yoruichi laughed. You are noble, you are great, don't let Bo-Zan become a person who does not believe what he says, let me suffer, right? Kazuki quickly waved his hand. I don't agree, Bo-Zan doesn't keep his word, let him go without his word. Visored. Hachigen was somewhat embarrassed. Agreeing to Sui-Feng's conditions means that he will use the Kido seal to trap Urahara Kazuki. Still a month away. The store manager Urahara has so many tricks, how can I trap him? He racked his brains and said, I had no choice but to engage in a sneak attack. Boxwan, you are stupid, the condition is that you agree, if you don't do it, Sui-Feng will have nothing to do with you. Hiroko Shinji smiled thoughtfully, and continued, besides, how could you trap that cunning guy Kazuki? Hachigen shook his head. No, Hiroko, I want to keep my word, you guys have to help me trap manager Urahara. Shout, help Shinigami with things, I refuse. Hiyori put his hands in his pockets and was the first to refuse. The rest of the people also shook their heads. Hachigen. Shout, at worst, I will do a sneak attack by myself. In the video screen, after seeing Hachigen's oath, Sui-Feng smiled slightly. Jakuho Reikoben. Swish. Boom. A huge missile was launched, and soon a violent explosion was produced in the gate of the four beasts, and the fireworks burst out through the gate of the city bidden by the tiger. The shock came again, and even the air was squeezed and shaken. Putting his hands on his chest, Hachigen said in a deep voice, let the king of Hueco Mundo regret what he did. Sui-Feng also fell directly to the ground because he consumed too much Reiatsu. The explosion of Jakuho Reikoben created a rift in the four-beast gate. There is a crack in the gate of the four beasts, the power of Jakuho Reikoben cannot be underestimated. Hachigen said with emotion. Originally, the limit of Jakuho Reikoben was once every 3 days, but now you use 2 shots a day, and you have to pay the price. Sui-Feng looked at Hachigen. Of course, I will keep Mr. Pu Yuan in my barrier for a month as promised. But at this moment, the surface of the broken four-beast gate was suddenly filled with an evil aura. The breath of death covered the entire barrier, and Baragan stretched out an arm from the gap. Unforgivable. I will never forgive you. Sui-Feng was stunned, he couldn't move after taking a blow from Jakuho Reikoben at close range. Is he immortal? Kill you. If I don't kill you, I will not be human. Baragan raised his arm, and scarlet light diffused from the gap. I am the king of Hueco Mundo, a god and immortal. Boom. The gate of the four beasts was directly shattered, and the Skull Emperor reappeared. But half of his head was blown off. Dare to be disrespectful to the Emperor. I think you are tired of your work, turn into ashes and go to hell to repent. Swish. A large amount of death breath spread out again, wherever it went, life was impossible. Outside the video, Omeda was already shaking with shock. That old man is really immortal, what should I do, Captain? Sui-Feng remained silent. Unleashing Jakuho Reikoben twice a day is already her limit, such a close-range attack has not killed Baragan yet. Why is this guy so tenacious, is he so loyal to Aizen? What a terrifying power, did Captain Sui-Feng's Jakuho Reikoben just crack his skull? Katetsu Azane frowned, subconsciously glanced at Unohana Retsu. Unohana Retsu kept an indifferent face, and said indifferently, such an enemy, Captain Sui-Feng is no match, Baragan, is very strong. She, an unprecedented villain, even felt a little bit of excitement in 2.7. Hueco Mundo. Countless Jillians and some Ijukas cheered as they watched the former king of Hueco Mundo escape from death. King of Hueco Mundo, who was his opponent? In the video screen. Baragan spread the breath of death, and Hachigen continued to block with the barrier made by Kido. Think you can escape the clutches of aging with something like that? Baragan held the axe of death, kill without mercy. Hachigen was forced to wear a mask, but was still unable to counter Baragan's slash. Even a piece of the mask had been chipped off. I am the Emperor, the King of Hueco Mundo, whether it is Shinigami, human, virtual or Arankar, the differences, disputes, and freedom of will are not worth mentioning. Baragan swung his axe again, and Hachigen's mask was shattered. The heaven and the earth are the only ones who are the only ones, and the power of this old man surpasses all things. Everything else is insignificant. At the same time the breath of death ate into Hachigen's arm. But at this moment, a Uzumaki suddenly appeared in Baragan's body. Baragan was stunned. What's going on? You also said just now that your power is unique and surpasses all things. This is very puzzling to me. Your ability is to make those who touch it decay and die, so why don't you, who are all bones, reduce to ashes, and maintain the status quo? Hachigen hypothesized that Bagabu had the power to bounce off his own abilities. So sending his power into his body, which is normally isolated from outside forces, might be able to break the deadlock. Baragan found that Hachigen's right arm was missing, and wrapped it with a 5 raised cover, wondering, what's wrong with your right arm, what kind of tricks are you playing? Hachigen smiled lightly, pointed to Baragan, and said, I've given it to you. At this time, a rectangular barrier appeared in Uzumaki in Baragan's body, and Hachigen's aging arm still appeared in it. Chapter 67. The Fall of the King, Ichimaru Jin is on the list. The box. Jashiro said not calmly. The ability to put small objects into a rectangular barrier and then pass them into a certain space at close range is considered a time-space Kido. The only ones who can master this kind of Kido are the Kido Chief and Deputy Kido Chief of the Kido congregation. Hachigen is trying to use Baragan's ability to kill himself. Tōshirō was taken aback immediately, he didn't even think of using this method to deal with the almost unsolvable Baragan. Rangaku agreed. Baragan, who has resisted Sui-Feng's Captain Bankai's injury and is still alive, can only rely on his own strength to make him age and die. Hachigen is quite. I just don't know if this speculation will be a reality. Hira was a little worried, since Baragan was so stubborn, this method might not work. Void Night Palace. Baragan couldn't keep his composure at this moment. Because Hachigen's guess is correct, if the power of his aging is applied to his body, then the power of suppressing aging on the surface of the body will not have any effect. In other words, this strategy of Hachigen can kill him. Baragan, the ability to age is indeed very strong, but your ignorant way of fighting is the key to your failure. You were defeated by a group of ants and pretended that Lord Aizen gave you such powerful power. Ulquiorra looked at Baragan coldly. If he wanted to, he could use the breath of death from the very beginning to drive his opponent into a dead end. But instead of doing that, he played house games with Omeda and Sui-Feng. To put it bluntly, it is a wave. Holly Bell and Stark didn't show their real strength from the beginning to the end, and Bale showed his real strength before he died. Damn it, this old man will never die, so what if he is guessed by the other party? This old man is a god and will never perish. Baragan frowned, staring at Ulquiorra viciously. The throne of the Void Night Palace. Aizen shook his head helplessly. Baragan is the most capable player in the Espada, apart from Stark. Unexpectedly, in this way, 0-4 lost to Hachigen and Sui-Feng. In the video screen, the arm in the enchantment continues to age. Sui-Feng sensed Hachigen's intentions. He cut off his arm with a barrier and sent it into Baragan's belly. That uncle is amazing, Omeda exclaimed in surprise. If your power is unique and surpasses all things, then you will also be defeated by it. I just made a gamble without evidence. Fortunately, I guessed correctly. Hachigen said lightly. As the barrier and arms continued to age, Uzumaki in Baragan's stomach exploded quickly, destroying his body completely. Damn ants, dare to betray the gods, unforgivable, unforgivable. Baragan still had bad breath, but now a large amount of evil breath emanated from his body, and Reiatsu shrunk sharply. I will never let you ants go, except for Shinigami, the Soul Society has no gods. Your solemn words are incomprehensible. Facing Baragan's ignorance, Hachigen said calmly, forgive us for not believing in you, god of Hueco Mundo. Even if he is a god, he is also the god of Hueco Mundo, what does it have to do with the Soul Society, and the present world? Baragan's body gradually dissipated, but he didn't seem to want to sit still. Even though there was only half of his body left, he still raised the axe of death, and said in a deep voice, this old man will not die, and he will not die. This old man once swore to the heavens that even if he turned into a ghost, he would cut you into pieces. Humiliation. This old man is a king, a god, I will not die until I kill you with blood. Go to hell with me. Hachigen is a bit fooled, you swore that you would turn into a ghost and cut me into pieces. Have I met you before? At this moment, Fa suddenly flung out the moment of death in his hand. Hachigen was stunned for a moment, being hit by the death axe, he would definitely die. But he found that the target of the death axe was not himself, but Aizen Sosuke at the far end. In other words, what Baragan said just now was not for him, but for Aizen. Saraiti. What? This attack didn't involve Akita. Sui-Feng frowned. The axe missed Hachigen, apparently not because Baragan missed, but because the original target was Aizen. Sui-Feng originally believed that Baragan would rather die than submit, and did his best to deal with Hachigen and her, which was loyal to Aizen. As a result, when he was dying, Baragan turned his back on him. You must know that only those who are about to die can express their true inner thoughts. In other words, Baragan is not loyal to Aizen, even Aizen is the person he hates and wants to kill the most. Yeah, it seems that Baragan is not loyal to Aizen. Jingle Chunshui shook his head and smiled lightly. It's not a matter of loyalty or not. I think these two people seem to have a deep blood feud, and they never forget to pull him as a backing when they die. Chi Shu raised her glasses and looked at Jingle Chunshui said. But that's good, at least there is no danger with Zhao Tian. Jashiro was a little worried at first, because Baragan threw the axe very quickly, and Hachigen Reiatsu was too worn out, so it was very likely that he would not be able to avoid this attack. As a result, people didn't want to deal with Hachigen at all. Everyone is happy, we are all fine. Baragan's final blow was aimed at Aizen. Omaeda is glad that he has not been eroded by aging, otherwise at least an arm will be broken. You are fine. Sui-Feng glanced at Omaeda angrily. Akita and I each lost an arm. Don't worry Captain Sui-Feng, I should be able to heal your arm. Unohana Retsu looked at Sui-Feng from the light. This kind of injury, Unohana Retsu does not guarantee 100%, but 80% sure to repair it, it is still no problem. Then thank you, Captain Unohana. Sui-Feng nodded. In the video screen, the death axe flew towards Aizen. Baragan was still conscious, and stared at him. If you turn into a ghost, you will be hacked into pieces. Your mistake is that you shouldn't give this old man strength. This old man is a king, a god, and has an immortal body. In this life, forever and ever, I will never spare you Aizen Sosuke. However, after Aizen noticed the abnormality, he turned his head slightly, and the broken axe was directly shattered into pieces. At the same time, Baragan's mutilated body and head began to disintegrate and collapse. In the end, only the golden crown remained, falling to the ground. Aizen looked at the dead Baragan, his expression unchanged, and quickly turned his head away. It was as if an ant had died, and he didn't care. The king of Hueco Mundo, you are just a smiling life who is afraid of death and keeps a respectful distance from aging. Hachigen said with emotion. And the crown, after falling to the ground, also collapsed into pieces and dissipated. When the video plays here, it ends. Void Knight Palace. Ah, it's really been killed. Ichimaru Jin grinned. Silver, your companion was killed, you seem very happy. Tusen Kanami cocked his ear, although he knew that Ichimaru Jin's character was like this, but is it too much to behave like this? Ichimaru Jin doesn't care so much, you are the only one who wants to be loyal to Aizen. I didn't expect Baragan to betray Lord Aizen. How can you be unhappy if there is one less traitor? Tusen Kanami nodded. Yeah, Baragan is a traitor, damn it. Over there, Neutra shook his head and sneered. Oh, I didn't expect that you dare to betray Lord Aizen, Baragan. He is a fighting maniac, and he doesn't care about being loyal to Aizen at all, but someone actually betrayed Aizen openly, and this person is the most rampant Baragan on weekdays, so he naturally preached. Zamari Ruro couldn't sit still, pointed at Baragan's nose and cursed. Baragan, you are such a beast. Master Aizen gave you power, it's fine if you don't repay him, and you want to hurt him before you die, you deserve to die. Quote. As Arankar who admired Aizen the most, Zamari Ruro scolded Baragan severely. Although Baragan's strength can easily kill him instantly, but in the Void Knight Palace and Aizen is still there, Baragan dare not act rashly. Baragan sat speechless in his seat. The Zai Palace was originally his residence. At that time, the Zai Palace had no roof, only stairs and a throne. In his opinion, as a king, the entire sky of Hueco Mundo is the top. He dominates Hueco Mundo and the world, and he is the supreme existence. Except for the world he opened up, there is no other new world at all. But after Aizen came, everything changed. Kyoka Suigetsu easily handled it, and even the roof of Suya Palace was repaired. From that day on, he will swear that sooner or later, he will make Aizen pay for his blood and regain the throne. However, when he was dying, he had no chance. He regrets, but is not afraid, even if Aizen can take away his power at any time, and can kill him at any time, but he has no fear in his heart. He turned a deaf ear to the cynicism of the rest of Espada because he had nothing to say. The throne of the Void Knight Palace. Aizen didn't get angry, he had expected this kind of ending long ago. Baragan is the king of the virtual circle, once supreme, how could he be willing to submit to himself? Even when he first conquered Baragan, Aizen expected that one day, Baragan would attack him. Only before he died, he did it. Baragan, are you so timid inside? Aizen smiled faintly. He didn't intend to punish Baragan. When attacking Soul Society in the future, Baragan will be needed. At the same time, In the face of traitors, Aizen made magnanimous decisions, which only made his loyal subordinates more loyal. After all, he didn't care about the lives of these people at all, or they didn't threaten him at all. Saraiti. Just one step away from hitting Aizen. Omaeda stared at the broken axe with hope on his face. This might be the perfect time to kill Aizen. Baragan, can't you last a second longer? What are you thinking, idiot? Sui-Feng scolded. Even if you give Baragan some more time, he can't do harm to Aizen. Don't forget, his power is given to him by Aizen. It's a pity, but it's not bad without a difficult enemy. Jingle Chunshui looked at Sui-Feng. And Captain Sui-Feng, well done. When the time comes, we must let Hachigen lock that guy Urahara Kazuki into the barrier, and you must not let him escape, Captain Sui-Feng. Kurotsuchi Mayuri's eyes flashed brightly. This is an excellent opportunity to punish Urahara Kazuki. The corner of Sui-Feng's mouth slightly raised. Don't worry, Captain Nirvana, I will personally go to the present world to assist Akita to capture that D*** Urahara Kazuki and imprison him for a month. Urahara store. Kazuki suddenly sneezed. He rubbed his nose and murmured, who spoke ill of me? After the inventory of Baragan was over, the big screen followed. The next list appears. Open black lens bracket, the 32nd place in the power list. Ichimaru Jin, close black lens bracket. Name. Ichimaru Jin. Force. Void Knight Palace. Identity. Shinigami, betrayal. Ability. Bankai. X. 89. Defense. 88. Speed. 88. 90. Vitality. 89. Reiatsu. 88. Kido. 85. 730000. Ichimaru Jin. When Rangaku saw this name, his heart skipped a beat. She and Ichimaru Jin are childhood sweethearts and love each other. Ichimaru Jin followed Aizen to Hueco Mundo, which was Rangaku's heart knot. When she saw Ichimaru Jin's name, she couldn't let it go. Is it that traitor? I didn't expect his strength to be so outstanding. Komamura Sajin frowned. He is the only captain of Saraiti on the list, but the second captain on the list turned out to be a traitor. Ichimaru Jin describes himself as a snake with cold skin and no emotion. He is good at disguising and likes to use a mocking tone when speaking, so some Shinigami don't have a good impression of him. It's hidden so deep. Tōshiro's eyes tightened. He hated Ichimaru Jin very much. When Aizen faked his death, it was he who provoked Wesen to kill himself. For such a person, Tōshirō felt that it was normal for him to rebel. Seeing that most people said Ichimaru Jin was not good, Kira looked a little dark, swallowed a mouthful of spit and said, Captain Ichimaru Jin is a gentle person, although I don't know why follow Aizen, but I think there must be a reason. It's still gentle, I think it's a smiling tiger. Tōshirō said. Rangaku's face was ugly, and she believed in Ichimaru Jin in her heart. But the wall is overthrown, and the fact is that Ichimaru Jin defected from the Soul Society and went to Hueco Mundo with Aizen. Even if she explained again, it was not convincing. The kid's attribute panel is really luxurious. His intelligence is as high as 90, and the rest of the values are close to 90. It's somewhat low to be ranked 32nd. Zaraki Kenpachi doesn't care about Ichimaru. Yin Rebellion is not a rebellion, but he thinks Yin is a good opponent. Aside from the defection, Ichimaru Jin is indeed a genius. Jingle Chunshui's eyes flickered, and he continued, it took only 1 year for Jin to graduate from Spiritual Arts Academy and enter. After getting Gote 13, I feel a little bit ashamed. Quote. Jashiro smiled faintly. Jingle, you are humble again. Void Knight Palace. Ichimaru Jin looked at his name on the list, his squinted eyes slowly opened, revealing light blue pupils. If he hadn't squinted his eyes all the year round, he would definitely be a handsome guy. But at this time Ichimaru Jin's face was full of worry. Being on the list is a good thing, it represents the strength of one's own strength. But for Ichimaru Jin, this may be a bad thing. Because he follows Aizen and doesn't seek power like Tōsen Konami, he has only one purpose. Kill Aizen. Chapter 68, 100 Swords Flow, 13 kilometers, Kamishini no Yari. Seeking subscription. Killing Aizen is not an easy time, the conditions are extremely harsh. Especially when he owns Kyoka Suigetsu, beware of Kyoka Suigetsu hypnosis at any time. Ichimaru Jin is worried that his plan to assassinate Aizen will be exposed. Silver, your ranking is actually 32nd. It seems that I am ahead of you. Tōsen Konami said lightly. Ichimaru Jin did not accept Hollow's power, while he had mastered Hollow and was able to perform sword liberation. No reason Ichimaru Jin is on the list, he is not on the list. Ichimaru Jin smiled. Oh, Tōsen, you must be ahead of me. As the first person to follow Aizen, he naturally knows how to control Hollow's power, but he is not like Tōsen Konami, who would rather be nondescript in pursuit of power. His purpose is to get back Rangaku's soul. Hollow's power can't improve him too much. After all, he is already very strong and doesn't need Hollow's power. That guy Ichimaru Jin, why can he be in front of this old man? Baragan put his hands on the armrests of the chair and snorted coldly. In his view, Ichimaru Jin is nothing more than a dog that follows Aizen. Without Aizen, he is nothing. Why can he be ranked ahead of him, the king of Hueco Mundo? Exactly, why is he ranked so high? Grimmjow was also dissatisfied with this ranking. Ichimaru Jin is not good in Espada's impression, and of course they have never seen Ichimaru Jin's true strength. Even Aizen has not figured out the true strength of Ichimaru Jin. Holly Bell looked at Grimmjow coldly, and said, to be Lord Aizen's right-hand man, his strength must not be underestimated. Present world. Damn, this guy is ranked higher than Rukia after Bankai. Ichigo gritted his teeth, full of unwillingness, but he had to accept this not. When he defeated Saidanfang and was about to enter Soul Society, Ichimaru Jin blocked him. From then on, he felt that Ichimaru Jin's strength was profound and he was not a simple character. But surpassing Bai Shaw's penalty, isn't that too exaggerated? Renji shook his head and denied Ichigo's opinion. When Captain Ichimaru Jin was in Gote 13, he always gave people a very mysterious feeling. Although he was annoying, no one dared to underestimate him. Every time I saw Ichimaru Jin, I felt a tingling sensation twice. This ranking was within his expectations. Ichigo gave Renji a blank look, he forced him to do it, I'm just upset. However, at this time, the video has already started playing on the big screen. Karakura Town Battlefield. Aizen confronts Vizard. Hiyori held the slashing knife and the big snake, and said in a deep voice, Aizen, I don't hate you for breaking your promise, but for killing your colleagues. Her voice became more and more angry. You caused me to destroy the friendship with my own hands, and let everyone's hearts down. Aizen, this hatred lasts for 100 years. She pointed at Aizen with an orochi, if I don't chop you up, I won't be able to get rid of my grievances. Aizen's betrayal back then made her harbor a grudge. Don't do it lightly. With Aizen's ability, if you rush forward without saying a word, you may die immediately. Hirako calmly instructed Hiyori, and watched Hiyori clench the handle of the knife again, and continued, what I said is you, stop holding on to the hilt, Hiyori. As expected of Captain Hirako, how considerate. Aizen put his hands in the pockets of his outer robe, and smiled faintly, but apart from anything else, the saying that you will die immediately after rushing up sounds really ridiculous. It doesn't matter if you rush up without saying a word, whether you rush up after careful consideration, or just stay where you are, the result will be the same. I'm not predicting the future, your end is already an established commitment in the past. Hearing this, Vizard and the others all clenched their sword handles, ready to fight. Knowing Aizen's intentions, Hirako quickly yelled at them. He's provoking, don't fall for it. In addition to Kyoka Suigetsu's hypnosis, Aizen is also a rare chess player. If there is, it can only be Uzumaki Naruto who has a different mouth. Uzumaki Naruto's mouth escape is to make the enemy introspect, and Aizen's mouth escape is to attract hatred. Aizen didn't change his face and continued to talk. What are you afraid of? On that night 100 years ago, you were already on the road together. Hearing these words, Hiyori couldn't bear it anymore, kicked the air with his feet, and swooped towards Aizen. But when she lifted the big snake, a burst of pain spread from the waist and abdomen to the nerves of the brain. A long knife came and cut off Hiyori's body at the waist. And it was Ichimaru Jin who caused the blow. He held the shinso that stretched hundreds of meters long, with a stern smile on his face. Take out one. Saraiti. What kind of speed is this? It's such a long distance to complete the slash in an instant. Toshiro's pupils shrank suddenly. He had fought against Ichimaru Jin before, but that battle was like a play, and Ichimaru Jin did not show such terrifying strength. This attack was so swift and violent, it is estimated that his 1,000-year ice prison could not defend against it. If Ichimaru Jin had used all his strength at that time, maybe he had the same result as Hiyori and was instantly killed on the spot. Naturally, Sui-Feng also knew Hiyori, and when she saw her being cut in half, she frowned tightly. Ichimaru Jin is really like a cold lion majesty for making a sneak attack. The speed is too fast, plus the reason for the sneak attack, no one can react at all. Joshiro shrank his pupils and sighed. You should know that this is still Ichimaru Jin's ordinary Shikai, and Kamishini no Yari after Bankai is even faster. Many of the vice captains and chief executives present were sweating profusely. With this kind of speed on them, there is no way to dodge at all, only a dead end. Even at the captain level, there is no guarantee that it can be completely avoided. What a vicious guy, the way he kills is so vicious. Kira, you still say he is a gentle person. Toshiro turned to Kira with a questioning look. Kira was a little speechless, and kept silent. Ichimaru Jin's moves were indeed too cruel, and he couldn't deny these 10 points. Visored. Ichimaru Jin, I'm going to kill you. Hirako Shinji looked at Hiyori who was cut in half in the video, his brows twitched and he was full of anger. Hiyori is very important to him. Even 100 years ago, the two were good friends, and they would play and fight when they met, and this state has continued until now. Seeing Hiyori being so brutally murdered, how could he sit still? Ha ha ha, idiot, you look so funny now. Hiyori didn't feel hatred because he was cut in half in the video, but laughed at Hirako's face when he was angry. Isn't she standing right in front of Hirako now? What's so sad? Seeing Hiyori laughing and mocking himself, Hirako immediately grinned and cursed. You are an idiot, you don't know who Aizen is, do you? Why are you still shaken by his words? I know, I'm fine now, next time I meet him, no matter what he says, I won't be impulsive, okay? Knowing that Hirako cares about him, Hiyori gradually put away his smile, and then complained. Ichimaru-jin is such a despicable villain, he even engages in sneak attacks, what a jerk. There can be any good people following Aizen, but I didn't expect him to be so bad. Hachigen complained with dark eyes. The throne of the Void Knight Palace. Aizen smiled and watched the video content with great interest. He knew that even if he didn't shoot himself in the video, Ichimaru-jin would. Because Ichimaru-jin needs to trust him more. However, Aizen is well aware of Ichimaru-jin lurking around him. Silver, your Shinso is really powerful, but in front of my Kyoka Suigetsu, even Kamishini no Yari is useless. Even if Aizen doesn't use Kyoka Suigetsu, Kamishini no Yari won't be a threat to him. Aizen supported the side of his face with his hands, and smiled again. It's absolutely impossible to kill me with Kamishini no Yari, Silver. The video screen continues to play. Hiyori's body was severed together with Zanpakuto's hilt, and fell rapidly downward. Seeing this scene, Hirako called out to Hiyori in panic, and quickly caught Hiyori's remnant body at the landing point. Hiyori, Hirako cried out in pain. I'm sorry Shinji, I just can't swallow this. Hiyori was panting, his vitality was rapidly decreasing. Hachi, save Hiyori with Kido. Hirako said to Hachigen. Hachigen stared blankly, bewildered. Hirako understood at a glance, and he quickly hugged Hiyori's body. Suddenly thinking of Inoue Orihime's healing ability, Hiyori may still be saved. He shouted to the sky. Ichigo, haven't you come back yet, Ichigo? Present world. Kurosaki Ichigo frowned, although he didn't know why Hirako Shinji called his name. But he could also tell that his future self would definitely get to know him. According to my guess, at this point in time, I should be fighting Espada in Hueco Mundo, right? Inoue can't come back. Ichigo felt a little regretful. Hiyori's injury is too serious, Kido can't save her at all, only my ability, but I was too late to come. As Orihime said, she shed 2 tears, because she blamed herself very much. Inoue, this is not your fault, no need to blame yourself. Kurosaki Ichigo comforted her. At this time, the video screen changed. After fighting with Kurosaki Ichigo, Aizen turned to look at Ichimaru-jin aside. You have been visiting for a long time, Silver. Ichimaru-jin squinted and smiled. It's not about visiting, but because I can't find the opportunity and necessity to help. According to Aizen's strength, Kurosaki Ichigo is indeed too weak, and there is no need for him to help. But he doesn't want to help Aizen, but he thinks that he can't find a chance to kill your Aizen. Aizen's eyes tightened, and he said lightly, really? But at this moment, Kurosaki Ichigo raided. Ichimaru-jin used Shinso to block Tensa Zangetsu, and the 2 forces collided, causing a landslide and tsunami-like shock. And directly cut off the building where Aizen was standing, and then Kurosaki Ichigo involved Aizen. Kurosaki Ichigo and Ichimaru-jin fight. Outside the video, seeing Kurosaki Ichigo appear, Hirako Shinji also breathed a sigh of relief. Since Kurosaki Ichigo has arrived, Hiyori can still be saved. When the living Kurosaki Ichigo saw the appearance of Kurosaki Ichigo, his eyes widened. What happened to the dad who was wearing a deadly costume and holding a chopping knife? What's the situation? Why did dad appear on the battlefield? That's right, why did uncle appear in the Soul Society, wearing a deadly costume? Inoue Orihime was also stunned and couldn't understand. Ishida Uryu stroked his eyes, and said lightly, isn't the result obvious, that uncle is Shinigami? Shinigami. Hearing this, Kurosaki Ichigo almost jumped up. Although he knew that this attire was exactly what a Shinigami would look like, but it was a little strange to wear it on his father. Dad is Shinigami. How is this possible? Ichigo's mouth twitched. Recalling in my mind, Kurosaki Ichigo usually looks like a fool, confused in every possible way. The Kurosaki house. Isn't that dad? Why is dad Shinigami? Kurosaki Shili opened her eyes wide, and rubbed her hands again, and when she was sure, she almost spurted blood. Yuzu was also very surprised, and quickly called Kurosaki Ichigo. Kurosaki Ichigo came following the sound. This time he strode over with a proud look on his face. That's right, your father, is Shinigami. Anyway, I can't hide it anymore, so it's better to admit it frankly. Damn, why didn't you tell us earlier? Xia Li glanced at Kurosaki Ichigo angrily, and shouted. Kurosaki Ichigo lost all his prestige just now, scratched the back of his head, and said with an embarrassed smile, don't you know now? Seraiti. Toshirō and Rangaku's eyes widened, and they glanced at each other after confirming who was fighting Aizen just now. That's Captain Shiba. Captain Shiba has been missing for so many years, how did he suddenly appear? Yeah, it's a surprise that Captain Shiba is still alive. Jingle Chunshui smiled knowingly. But they don't know that Shiba Ichigo is now called Kurosaki Ichigo and is the father of Kurosaki Ichigo. Return to the screen. Ichimaru-jin confronts Kurosaki Ichigo. It's been a long time since I fought with you. I won't show mercy this time. Ichigo is in Bankai state, And Ichimaru-jin is casually holding his knife like Zanpakuto Shinso, although he says so, but he still releases water. Do you still remember? When I fought against you before, I only remember that you were an interesting kid. Ichimaru-jin is also good at acting. All the battles of Kurosaki Ichigo, he and Aizen watched clearly in the secret room, only remembering that he is an interesting child said from his mouth, obviously too good at pretending. I don't remember. Ichigo replied indifferently. Stop lying, are you trying to provoke? Ichimaru-jin was speechless. No, it's not that I don't remember your sword, but I don't remember your heart. When you collide with your opponent's Jiao Nujiao sword, you can understand a little bit about your opponent's thinking. It doesn't mean being able to read minds, but it includes being able to see what kind of awareness the opponent holds when swinging a sword, whether he recognizes himself or despises himself, and so on. Quote. Ichigo, who has been honed in many battles, has already had such an awareness. Trying your best during the battle, you usually don't realize it until the end. The stronger the opponent, the stronger the desire to pass more. What, like a poet? Seeing that Ichigo said a lot, Ichimaru-jin complained. Do not talk nonsense. Ichigo's eyes turned hard. He didn't feel the inner desire of the opponent from Ichimaru-jin's confrontation, but he noticed that Ichimaru-jin was a little distracted. Whether it was the last battle or this one household didn't understand what Ichimaru-jin was looking at. The corner of Shi Wen's mouth grinned, like a lion majesty opening his mouth, and said with a sneer, What, I thought you were an interesting kid, but you are a scary person. Now I know why Captain Aizen is interested in you. Do you know how long my Shinso can stretch? He holds the short sword. The devil wants to know. Ichigo also held Tensa Zangetsu in both hands, ready to attack. It is equivalent to the length of hundreds of knives, so I have been called 100 swords since I was a child. Ichimaru-jin explained patiently. I didn't ask you again. Then do you know how long after Bankai? I'm not here to participate in the guessing contest. Why? Admit defeat. It's too boring. There is no way. In order to let you understand, I will tell you with the length of your life. Ichimaru-jin's face turned cold, and he said in a deep voice, 13 kilometers. Ichigo was stunned when he heard this number. What is the concept of 13 kilometers? Even let him run for 10 minutes, Kamishini no Yari can kill him instantly. It's just that you don't feel much about the numbers, so I'll let you see it. I'm on it. I won't show mercy this time. Ichimaru-jin smiled slightly, raised the arm holding Shinso, and said lightly, Bankai, Kamishini no Yari. Chapter 69, Ichimaru-jin releases the Yin, I save it to kill Aizen. Seeking subscription. Bankai, Kamishini no Yari. Ichimaru-jin's whole body erupted into an extremely oppressive reiatsu, and turned his body slightly to the side where he was holding the knife. Even his usual squinting eyes opened a gap, revealing blue eyes. Swish. The bright light was released, and the Zanpakuto in Ichimaru-jin's hand extended rapidly, and the high-rise building on half a street in Karakura town was instantly cut in half and fell down with a bang. However, Kamishini no Yari's blade is already drawn against Kurosaki Ichigo. In Ichigo's eyes, the field of vision is completely covered by white light, and he seems to feel that the speed of Kamishini no Yari exceeds the speed of light. He immediately blocked it with a horizontal knife, and after Tensa Zangetsu collided with Shinso, violent sparks were generated, and Ichigo was also shocked by this strong impact, and retreated again and again. Although Ichigo blocked Kamishini no Yari, the stretched Shinso rushed to the sky, the point of the knife was out of reach, and there was no end in sight. Seeing this, Ichimaru-jin was slightly surprised. Although he had released the water, he was still shocked by Ichigo's growth. What are you surprised about? Ichigo said. It's also Bankai, how can it be impossible to block with the solution? He raised his arm violently, and the black and red crescent moon rushed away from Ichimaru-jin's Shinso. Boom. The aftermath of the crescent moon exploded directly beside Ichimaru-jin. Ichimaru-jin easily blocked it, and smiled secretly. What, he really is a terrible person. Kurosaki Ichigo, outside the video, is surprised to see himself block Ichimaru-jin's Kamishini no Yari with Zanpakuto. When Ichimaru-jin released Kamishini no Yari just now, the speed was so fast that his vision was filled with white light. However, it was such a swift and fierce attack that he actually blocked it. Doesn't this mean that at that time, his strength could compete with Ichimaru-jin who was ranked 32nd? C. B*************** D Renji, is your captain nothing more than that, Bankai? Ichigo crossed his arms and said triumphantly. Baga, Ichimaru-jin is no longer the captain of Seraiti, besides, it's your luck that you can block this blow. Renji glanced at Ichigo, although he said so, but he was very surprised by Ichigo's performance in his heart. First against Grimmjow, Hollow's time lasted for a short time, then against Ulquiorra's second stage black-winged monster, and became a full-bodied bullhead to kill the latter, and now easily blocked Ichimaru-jin's Kamishini no Yari. Moreover, the interval between these three battles did not seem to be long. Why is this kid's progress rate so exaggerated? Renji was puzzled and surprised. In terms of growth rate, I'm afraid Ichigo has completely adjusted himself. Kurosaki Ichigo directly changed its name to Kurosaki and it's done. Luck is also a part of strength. Ichigo said lightly. In the 310 video screen, injured Rangaku sensed the breath of Ichimaru Jin from Reiatsu fighting in the distance. She slowly opened her eyes, facing the direction of the breath, and weakly shouted, "Silver." And Ichimaru Jin retracted Shinso, and said in an admiring tone, "It's terrible, I must punish you now, otherwise it will cause serious trouble in the future." Kurosaki Ichigo was directly shocked in place, because when Shido shortened the sword, he didn't notice it at all. Could it be that I was distracted by something else and didn't see it? No, I've been looking at his knife. I won't miss the expansion and contraction of that kind of length. Ichigo was sweating coldly. Just now Shinso was still in front of him, and his eyes didn't divert from the blade at all. Why did it suddenly disappear and retract into Ichimaru Jin's hand? Looking at the elusive Zanpakuto, Ichigo panicked. So, what should I do next? With such a quick attack, he couldn't do anything about it. My Bankai was stopped by you at once, it seems that I can only fight with you normally. Ichimaru Jin smiled lightly, and then rushed towards Ichigo with Shinso, engaging in a melee sword fight. You put the Yin. Aizen outside the video shook his head helplessly. According to his understanding of Ichimaru Jin, Yin is not a threat to himself, but isn't it easy to deal with Ichigo? But Kamishini no Yari can be so biased, and even said that he can only fight with Ichigo in a normal way. Aizen sighed, "You are so boring, Silver. I wanted to see what other cheats Ichigo could open, but Ichimaru Jin didn't give it a chance." Tusen Kanami could also feel Ichimaru Jin's release, and said sideways, "Silver, you don't plan to fight Kurosaki Ichigo seriously at all, do you want to betray Captain Aizen just like Baragan?" Ichimaru Jin smiled softly. "Tusen, Kurosaki Ichigo has too much potential, I really tried my best, besides, how could I betray Captain Aizen?" The current Ichigo felt bad, and felt that Ichimaru Jin was not aggressive. At the beginning, I avoided Kamishini no Yari. I am afraid it was not because of luck, but because the opponent didn't want to hit him at all. Back to the video screen, Ichimaru Jin and Kurosaki Ichigo fought fiercely, resulting in countless afterimages. However, Ichimaru Jin was very relaxed, admiring while chopping. "It's really a powerful knife, it seems like it will break my knife if I cut it." Ichigo struggled to resist, but still Kaido, "You really can talk, then let your knife break quickly." He also noticed that Ichimaru Jin just put away the knife and didn't release Bankai. If the opponent turns the blade towards him and extends the Shinso, he will surely die. But Ichimaru Jin didn't do that at all. Instead, after continuous slashing, he took a dozen steps back in an instant, and then released Kamishini no Yari, extending rapidly. In microseconds, Kamishini no Yari crossed Ichigo's body. Shoulder, cut it. After Ichigo had time to react, Ichimaru Jin cut Zanpakuto. Boom. Ichigo dodged in an instant, but the ground where Shinso slashed was cracked like an earthquake. Seraiti. Shinso, who has always maintained the state of Bankai, can extend and retract the blade anytime and anywhere. This ability is really terrifying. Madarame Makaku of the 11th team was extremely shocked. You must know that he is not easily shocked by his ability to others, but Ichimaru Jin's Kamishini no Yari completely conquered him. He has no intention of fighting Kurosaki Ichigo seriously, otherwise, the fight would have been over. Tōshirō frowned even though he didn't know why Ichimaru Jin released the water. But when Ichimaru Jin was fighting Ichigo close to him, he could release Kamishini no Yari at any time to kill Ichigo, but he didn't do that. Instead, he adjusted the distance and then released Kamishini no Yari. Not only that, but also gave Ichigo time to react, and then carry out subsequent attacks. Thinking of this, Tōshirō broke into a cold sweat. I even imagined in my mind that when I fought Ichimaru Jin, I was penetrated by Kamishini no Yari. What Ichimaru Jin did might be helping Ichigo. Quote. Jingle Chunshui stroked the bamboo hat and said lightly. Help Ichigo. What's the meaning? Hearing this sentence, everyone was stunned. From the fact that Ichimaru Jin cut Hiyori in half, it can be seen that he is ruthless. For him, Hiyori is an enemy, and Kurosaki Ichigo is also an enemy. Why would he help Kurosaki Ichigo? Captain Jingle, what do you mean by that? Although Ichimaru Jin had many chances to kill Ichigo directly, he didn't do it. Isn't it because he wanted to tease Ichigo for some fighting fun? Rukia was very disgusted with Ichimaru Jin, and said angrily, that's the kind of person he is. Yeah, I don't know, I just have this feeling. Jingle Chunshui shook his head and smiled. Ichigo in the video takes advantage of the moment Ichimaru Jin unleashes Kamishini no Yari in the air, and charges forward. He considers close range to be his advantage with the Shinso elongated. At the moment of the assault, Shinso shortened again, and after Ichimaru Jin blocked the attack, he jumped backwards and landed on the floor that had been cut off. As I expected, the scariest thing about your Bankai ability is not the length, nor the destructive power, but the speed of expansion and contraction. Ichigo looked up at Ichimaru Jin, and continued, you told me the length of the knife before, there is no it means that if you don't speak, it will be beneficial to you. It's the same thing for you to swing the knife deliberately to cut the street in half. It would be beneficial to you if you cut directly at me. You just demonstrated it to me because you didn't want me to notice the speed of your knife. Although Ichigo saw the essence of Kamishini no Yari, Ichimaru Jin still kept smiling. Oh, you can find this in just one fight, and you can avoid it in another fight. Ichimaru Jin felt that he had gained something, and he had stimulated Ichigo to such an extent, thinking, scary, scary, it seems that you will be even better. But this is still far away, since it has been exposed and there is no other way, then let me tell you. He held Zanpakuto under his armpit, clapped his hands together, and continued, Kamishini no Yari's elongation speed. Did you hear that? It's 500 times as much as before. Hearing this, Ichigo's pupils shrank suddenly, and he instantly understood what Ichimaru Jin meant. Speed of sound. 500 times the speed of sound. Aebh Kamishini no Yari is not the longest Zanpakuto, but the fastest Zanpakuto. Even if you know this, you can't win. Ichimaru Jin holds Kamishini no Yari across his face. A ray of light flashed again. Hearing this data, the captains and chief officers of Seraiti were dumbfounded. 500 times the speed of sound, converted to 170,000 meters per second. What is this concept? In other words, as long as Ichimaru Jin targets the Shinso kill on you, you will surely die. At this speed, Shinigami below the captain level no longer have to think about whether they can survive Kamishini no Yari. Even captains like Kensai, Rojuro and Komamura Sajin, who don't have the level of Bankai's Tōshirō, can't be avoided at all. The captain's Bankai has this kind of ability. Hira was stunned, unable to extricate himself for a long time. As Ichimaru Jin's vice-captain, he didn't know that Ichimaru Jin's Bankai was the most representative of speed. What a terrifying ability, Yin. Jingle Chunshui sighed, as expected of a child genius. Zaraki Kenpachi also shook his head. Ichimaru Jin is a good opponent, but fighting against such an opponent is quite boring. Kamishini no Yari's speed is too fast, and his attack ability at the far end is almost unsolvable, while Kenpachi enjoys more vigorous slashing, and the fighting styles of the two are completely different. Seeing Kenpachi shaking his head, Yachinryu couldn't help laughing. People who can make Ajien feel bored are rare. Void Night Palace. The Espadas were also in a cold sweat. Especially Baragan, he thought Ichimaru Jin was a weak chicken. But I didn't expect his Bankai to have such an exaggerated speed. Even though Baragan has the ability to age, he can't react to Kamishini no Yari. This guy hides so deeply, it's really insidious. Zamari Ruro sighed, thinking that this kind of person might be dangerous if he stays by Master Aizen's side. In the picture, Kamishini no Yari's blade is blocked by Tensa Zangetsu of Kurosaki Ichigo. Ichimaru Jin smiled. It's a good thing you can stop this trick, even if it's a coincidence, you're still very powerful. At this time, Aizen has entered the Hogyoku state, although Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi are not opponents at this time. No matter what you do, it's useless. Although I have been with Captain Aizen for so long, it is indeed the first time I saw him like this. Also, it was implanted when I didn't know. With Hogyoku, no wonder. Ichimaru Jin temporarily ceased fighting and said while looking at Aizen in the distance. Now you understand, you have nothing to do, after they and you are killed, it will all be over. Hearing this, Ichigo glared at Ichimaru Jin sideways. I won't let him succeed, not to mention that Aizen, even you can't know what will happen. I didn't expect you to say that. It sounds like you said it, but the premise is that you will be killed first. Could it be that deep down in your heart, you have actually let go over this battle? Looking at Ichigo who has no fighting spirit, Ichimaru Jin sneered. It's really impossible. He picked up Kamishini no Yari. I thought you would try harder, but you are still a child, your heart is too fragile. A coward like you is not qualified to wait until Captain Aizen comes to kill you. Raise Kamishini no Yari and hold the handle with both hands across the chest. Kamishini no Yari, dance. Swish. Kamishini no Yari stretched instantly, and retracted in a very short time. Ichigo couldn't see the shrinking process at all, and could barely see a flash of white light. Kamishini no Yari, dance with blades. Countless white lights flashed, and Kamishini no Yari stretched and retracted rapidly like a machine gun, stabbing at Ichigo one after another. Ichigo fends off as hard as he can, and kicks up a lot of dust. When he jumped out of the dust, he had already put on a mask on his face. At this time, Rangaku clutched his wound and ran towards the direction where Ichimaru Jin was fighting, trying to stop him. However, Ichimaru Jin is still fighting, and hollows Ichigo is nothing more than a mask in his eyes. Ichigo attaches Crescent Moon to Tensa Zangetsu and slashes at close range. Kamishini no Yari's strongest strength is that he can ignore the distance to the opponent and can attack at any time, but this in turn becomes a defense that cannot be close to him. As long as you can get close, you will definitely be able to open a breakthrough. You seem to be thinking about something, but it's useless. Ichimaru Jin shot Kamishini no Yari again, and the blade landed on Tensa Zangetsu, but at this moment, Ichigo unleashed all the power of his body and shot a black crescent moon. The two forces of Shinigami and Shu merged, and the extremely strong Reiatsu exuded directly suppressed Kamishini no Yari. Boom. The violent explosion set off a fiery wave. It's a pity, but in the end that's all you can do. Ichimaru Jin's voice came from the explosion. He was basically uninjured, and Kamishini no Yari lying in front of him represented that Ichigo's strongest blow was easily blocked by him. Ichigo outside the video was shocked for 2.5 years. His strongest blow didn't hurt Ichimaru Jin. The difference in strength is too great. Serai T. Is that Aizen's Hogyoku form? Kurotsuchi Mayuri rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Tōshirō took the words. It looks like it's empty. Thinking that as long as you enter the hinterland of Shinso and release the crescent moon after Hollow, you can win for granted. It seems that you still don't understand. Use your Zanpakuto to block me. Attack. Why do you think I can't block your attack? Too naive. Ichimaru Jin stretched out Kamishini no Yari again, and Ichigo's mask was directly toppled, and it bounced off the air and split in two. I can't help it. Are you so weak, and the mask is so fragile? Is Hollow only at this level? The original you is even more terrifying. Ichimaru Jin looked at Ichigo who was half kneeling on the ground, and taunted him, motivating him. At this moment, he looked up at Aizen, then at Ichigo, put away Zanpakuto, and said lightly, really, run away. Present world. Kurosaki Ichigo's pupils exploded, obviously humiliated. The enemy actually let himself escape when he was on the verge of massacre. Isn't this insulting him? The gap in strength is too great, but Ichimaru Jin doesn't seem to have the intention of killing you, Ichigo. Ishida Uryu looked at the depressed Ichigo, also not understanding. What is the purpose of Ichimaru Jin? Renji spread his hands and said. Ichimaru Jin is such an unpredictable person, Ichigo, you should be careful, maybe he will let you run 13 kilometers first, and then give you a behind the scenes. Hit. Chapter 70. Kill Aizen. Silver is undercover. Rangaku cries bitterly, please subscribe. Ichigo in the picture is shocked by Ichimaru Jin's words, and is attracted by the power released by Aizen in the distance. Will you keep your back on me? Obviously I'm right in front of you. Ichimaru Jin looked at distracted Ichigo, so relaxed in the face of the enemy, but was committing a crime. Why? It seems that the so-called Yuya Tianchong has reached its limit, you can't do it anymore. Hollow. Yuya Tianchong, none of these are working, I think you can't do anything. Ichimaru Jin jumped down from the ruins and walked up to Ichigo. It would be different if you had some killer weapon, but you don't have anything else either. And you are no longer a warrior, nor a Shinigami, nor a virtual, nor a human. Even if he stayed here so preoccupied, he couldn't defeat Aizen at all. I'm doing it for your own good, run away, you don't want to die, I'm not interested in you anymore, Captain Aizen should be very disappointed with you now. Ichigo knew in his heart that Aizen's power was by no means something he could resist. Feeling hopeless, he put down Tensa Zangetsu and dropped to his knees. At this time, Ichimaru Jin took out Zanpakuto again and walked towards Ichigo slowly. This is your last warning, if you don't escape, I will kill you here. Boom. An ultimate Reiatsu came like a tidal wave. Already in the second fusion state, Aizen, whose whole body was wrapped, came to the two of them. Silver, what did you want him to do just now? Aizen asked Ichimaru Jin. It's nothing, I just want to try his experience. Ichimaru Jin smiled lightly. Aizen didn't care, turned around and walked away, and said, open the portal to attack Soul Society's Karakura town. There is no need to destroy the transformation pillar. If you want to capture the palace, create a king key in Soul Society more convenient. At the same time, his mask collapsed, revealing that handsome and cold face again. At this point he is already in the third fusion state. Ichimaru Jin takes out Zanpakuto, casts the ingot, walks through the door and it opens. Ling Wang Palace. That Aizen guy actually wants to create Wang Jian in Soul Society, it's really whimsical. The monk grinned, but seeing how Aizen merged with Hogyoku, King of Creation might be able to succeed. The so-called Wang Jian refers to the body and bones restructured by the power of the Spirit King after becoming the Zero Team. The extremely captain of Team Zero is himself Wang Jian. However, the condition for Aizen to create the King Key requires 100,000 souls, and a heavy spirit land with a radius of 1 soul, that is, Karakura town. If no one can stop Aizen, he can really create Wang Jian. It's really evil. Senju Maru's eyes froze, but even if Aizen enters the Soul Palace through the King Key, with the captain of their Zero Division, they can still protect the Soul Palace. Serai T. Kurotsuchi Mayuri stared wide-eyed, looking at Aizen in the second fusion state and the third fusion state in the video, his face full of astonishment. He has some understanding of the power of Hogyoku, and he also participated in the research and development of first-generation Hogyoku. But Hogyoku's power in a truly fused state, he's seeing it for the first time. Is that really Captain Aizen? Hinamori's face twitched a little, and he couldn't believe it at all. The person wrapped in white clothes was the gentle Captain Aizen. Hinamori, that's Aizen. I didn't expect that under the power of Hogyoku, he would become so weird. Dongliang frowned. The first fusion form has made Aizen completely unlike Shinigami, and the second form of Aizen shocked everyone. Even the entire pupil of the third fusion form turned purple, adding a lot of evil aura. The screen continues to play. Aizen and Ichimaru Jin enter Karakura town in the present world through the transmigration gate. The two were walking down the street. Suddenly an uncle came over, looked at the two and said excitedly, Great, there are people who are awake, do you know what's going on? Aizen ignored the man and just told him not to come over. But when he passed by the man, the Reiatsu emitted from his body instantly wiped out the man and disappeared out of thin air. Although people who cannot feel Reiatsu and cannot feel Aizen's power, the spirit body itself cannot bear his power. It will cause the life body to collapse and die directly. Uncle. I stepped on the horse and it split open. Kurosaki Ichigo, who was outside the video, was annoyed when he saw this. Aizen was killing people in the Soul Society, but he was still killing people in this world. But he felt a chill down his spine at the power of Aizen, and just by passing, Reiatsu wiped out a man. What kind of monster is this? On screen, Aizen and Ichimaru Jin continue to walk the streets. At this time, Ichimaru Jin turned his head to look at the intersection. Hey, someone is awake over there. Ah, I saw them in the eyes of Ulquiorra, the companion of Kurosaki Ichigo. Aizen said flatly. And over there are Longui, Keigo, Shuhei and Chizuru who passed out on their backs. Seeing his classmates appear, including one who was young, the living Kurosaki Ichigo couldn't hold back. Aizen, if you dare to hurt Longui and Keigo, I will definitely kill you. According to what happened to the uncle just now, Ichigo worried whether Longui and the others would be directly killed by Reiatsu of Aizen. However, at this moment, the two felt a burst of gravity-like, extremely strong force oppressing their bodies. Aizen and Ichimaru Jin came face to face. Seeing Aizen, they broke out in cold sweat and felt desperate, unable to move in place. Longui's body couldn't bear the continuous approach of Reiatsu, and he fell to his knees on the ground with a plop. It's amazing to be so close to me and still be conscious. Aizen's indifferent eyes swept over the two of them, and then he said indifferently, Kurosaki Ichigo will definitely appear here, with new power, and I will use that power to get closer to perfection. Your death will promote this. His gaze suddenly became demonic, and he raised Zanpakuto to face several people. Longui couldn't move, let Keigo run away first. Keigo can only obey Longui's words and run away. Ichimaru Jin wanted to chase, but was stopped by Aizen. There is no need to chase, start with this first. Longui got up and ran away, but he couldn't move at all. But at this moment, Rangaku rushed to the scene, and her face was covered with sweat while her injuries were still not healed. She asked Longui and others to go first, and stopped Aizen herself. The hanging hearts of Kurosaki Ichigo, Sato and Inoue Orihime outside the video finally swallowed into their stomachs. Fortunately, Vice Captain Matsumoto came in time, otherwise the consequences would be disastrous. Inoue Orihime put his hands on his chin, full of anxiety. Kurosaki Ichigo's frowning relaxed a lot, but, is she really a match for Aizen and Ichimaru Jin? Seraiti. Rangaku, you are too reckless. Tōshirō turned to look at Matsumoto Rangaku beside him. At that time, Rangaku was still seriously injured. Even if she recovered, she could not be the opponent of Ichimaru Jin and Aizen. Tōshirō knew the relationship between Rangaku and Ichimaru Jin, and of course he knew the reason why Rangaku left. But this doesn't change anything, on the contrary, she will die. Captain, there are some things I have to figure out. Rangaku's eyes sparkled. Even if she died, she still had to figure out why Ichimaru Jin betrayed the Soul Society, otherwise she would die forever. Aren't Vice Captain Matsumoto and Ichimaru Jin very close? Maybe he won't hurt Vice Captain Matsumoto. Shubing guessed. Komamura Sajin glanced at Shubing and said disapprovingly, Traitor, what can't be done? And Aizen is also present. Even if Ichimaru Jin can't do it, Aizen will do it. They have all seen Aizen's iron blood and ruthlessness, even his vice captain Hinamori Momo, he is regarded as an ant, let alone Matsumoto Rangaku who has nothing to do with him. In the picture, Aizen looked at Matsumoto Rangaku indifferently, and said, You said you caught up, did you mean to express that those people escaped just now? Or did you want to say about the destruction of Karakura town and the creation of Wangjian? Quote. Forget it, no matter what it refers to, it is your fallacy. Rangaku frowned and stood there in a panic. What's the matter, aren't you willing to talk to me? Aizen had murderous intent in his eyes. At this time, Ichimaru Jin stepped forward, Captain Aizen, sorry, she is my old friend, I will take her over there. Aizen turned his head to look, and said lightly, It's okay, there is still time, you can catch up on the past slowly over there. Would it be in your way? Won't. After getting permission, Ichimaru Jin went to Rangaku in an instant and took him away. Looking at the disappearing figure of Ichimaru Jin murmured, Really, this kid is still so interesting. Void Night Palace. Ichimaru Jin's flustered expression suddenly slowed down a lot. Fortunately, Aizen didn't make things difficult for him and let himself talk to Rangaku. But he is so urgent, Aizen can definitely detect some clues, maybe he has been exposed. On the throne, Aizen smiled slightly, You are still too anxious, Silver. It seems that Matsumoto Rangaku is very important to you. The video screen continues. Let me go. Rangaku broke free from Ichimaru Jin's arms, but the injuries to her body made her barely stand. You can't even stand still, why are you running here? Ichimaru Jin was very concerned about her. Because your Reiatsu suddenly disappeared, so I immediately rushed over through the gate. Rangaku continued, Clutching his wound, we removed Karakura town, so naturally we know where it is. I'm not asking how you came here, I'm asking why you dragged your bruised body, why you came here to squat in the water. Ichimaru Jin kept squinting and smiling. Rangaku said decisively. It's not necessary to ask, of course it's because you are here. Hearing this, Ichimaru Jin's smile disappeared immediately. Finally I can ask you directly, why did you follow Aizen? Rangaku's attitude was very firm. Why did you betray Kira who trusted you so much? Ichimaru Jin didn't respond, and said indifferently, are you serious when you say that? You said you trusted me so much, but you were betrayed, are you really referring to Ichimaru? He opened his eyes and sighed. Hey, why did you come here? Walking slowly to Rangaku, stroking Rangaku's hump with his hand, I said Rangaku, you are in the way. Meanwhile, Shinso has targeted her. Shinso stretched suddenly, and a flash of intense white light flashed. Serai T. 0. Ask for flowers. Where is Ichimaru Jin's hand? Jingle Chunshui joked. Why did you start right away? Shishu glared at Jingle coldly. Captain, what time is it? You still say such things. Jingle Chunshui smiled awkwardly. Just kidding, just kidding. Captain, don't you even spare Matsumoto's vice captain. Hira looked desolate, and looked at Matsumoto Rangaku with some unbearable heart. It must be too cruel. It's disgusting, he deserves to die. The next time I see him, I must arrest him and bring him back. Lingting. Komamura Sajin wrinkled his dog's nose angrily. Many vice captains and chief officers were fighting for Rangaku, but Rangaku himself was downcast, looking at the ground with loose eyes, as if he had lost his soul. Silver, why are you doing this? You obviously care about me, don't you? Rangaku shouted in her heart. She could see that Ichimaru Jin didn't want to let her appear, because she was afraid of wading into the muddy water. Recalling the little things with Ichimaru Jin, Rangaku's nose was sour, but she fought back tears. Silver, why didn't you tell me the reason, why? Void Night Palace. The moment Ichimaru Jin saw the launch of Shinso, his body shook violently. But soon he regained his composure, shook his head and thought, will I feel uneasy when I see this scene? He knows he won't kill Rangaku, even if he holds Zanpakuto at her, that's something he doesn't want to see. At this moment, all he can think about is Rangaku. When Rangaku saw this scene, what would he think? Silver, your heart is shaken. Tusen Kanami turned to Ichimaru Jin. Ichimaru Jin smiled. How could that be? The video footage continues. Aizen walks alone in the street, chasing after Longwei and others who have escaped. 0. In fact, he is waiting for Ichigo to return, Ichigo with new powers. I'm back, Captain Aizen. Ichimaru Jin returned to Aizen's side. You're back, where's the woman? I killed her. Hearing this, Aizen frowned slightly, and felt that Rangaku's Reiatsu had indeed disappeared. It astonishes me. I thought you had some kind of affection for her. Emotions. I don't have that kind of thing at all. When we first met, I told you that I am a snake with cold skin and tender feelings. I fight around with the tip of my tongue to kill prey. Ichimaru Jin walked up to Aizen. I am the kind of creature that swallows the prey that I like. At this time, Longwei and others continued to escape. Aizen closed his eyes and shook his head. Yeah, I'm a little tired of playing the game of cat and mouse. What are your plans after killing those children? Ichimaru Jin asked. Hang their corpses in the most conspicuous place outside the city. Aizen held up Zanpakuto, facing the direction where Longwei and the others were fleeing, and continued, then start creating Wangjian. That's not bad, Ichimaru Jin said, placing his hand on Kyoka Suigetsu's blade. In that case, let me kill those children. When Ichimaru Jin outside the video saw this scene, his heart tightened. He knew what he was going to do next, touch Kyoka Suigetsu, make sure Aizen released Kyoka Suigetsu, and then it's time to do it yourself. It will be completely exposed. Ichimaru Jin thought, although he is looking forward to the next ending, whether he can kill Aizen, but the most important thing at present is to catch up with Aizen. Escape from the Void Night Palace. Regardless of Aizen's life or death, if he does it himself, the identity of the undercover agent must be confirmed. At this time, he is in the monitoring room of the Zai Palace, and Aizen is on the throne. Evacuate immediately, there is still a chance. But at this moment, the sound of opening the door of the secret room came. Silver, where do you want to go? Aizen walked in, smiling slightly at Ichimaru Jin. Ichimaru Jin greeted with a smile, Captain Aizen, where can I go? Aizen walked past him, and said lightly, that's good, let's continue watching. Tusen Kanami was also a little confused, wondering why Aizen came, but he didn't care so much, and continued to feel the video. In the video screen, the moment Ichimaru Jin touched the blade of Kyoka Suigetsu, a streak of ultimate white light came across, directly piercing Aizen's chest. And it was Ichimaru Jin's Kamishini no Yari that made this hit. Seeing this scene, Serai T, people in this world, including the Invisible Empire, were extremely shocked. Serai T. What? Ichimaru Jin actually attacked Aizen. What the hell is going on here? Toshiro's pupils shrank suddenly, and this huge reversal really caught him by surprise. Captain, the captain actually pierced Aizen's chest with Kamishini no Yari. Could it be that? The captain is an undercover agent who has been lurking beside Aizen. Kira's emotions rose instantly. Looking back now on everything Ichimaru Jin has done, I seem to understand him a little bit. Really, Ichimaru Jin stayed by Aizen's side, is it because he wants to assassinate him? The big dog Komamura was also shocked. It seems that we misunderstood Captain Ichimaru Jin. After Jingle Chunshui was briefly shocked, he slowed down his emotions. Shubing became concerned about Ichimaru Jin, and hurriedly said, "Isn't Captain Ichimaru Jin's purpose exposed? Aizen will definitely not let him go."